Chapter 64. Xiang Pengyun's expression turned malevolent as the snow-white blade light sliced through the air and arrived in front of him. Is that all you've got? Shui Ying's spear suddenly pierced upwards. The spearhead was like a rising dragon as it collided head-on with the snow-white saber light that was furiously hacking downwards. Pung! The collision resulted in an explosion that could be seen by the naked eye spreading in all directions. However, under the protection of the world energy, it gradually weakened and disappeared. With this collision, both of Dongbo Shuiying's legs sunk down to his knees. However, with just a slight movement of his legs, the soil and gravel were all sent flying. As for Xiang Pengyun, he borrowed the force of the collision to land on the ground. You have some strength. Xiang Pengyun grinned. However, a blood-red dart suddenly appeared in his left hand. Xiao! The dart streaked across the sky and flew towards Dongbo Qingshi, who was nervously watching from the top of the castle. Chi. The dart was originally as fast as lightning, but Dongbo Shuiying was constantly maintaining the world energy to protect his little brother, Uncle Zong and Uncle Tong. Although there was a difference in the strength of legend rankers, Dongbo Shuiying and Xiang Pengyun could use the same world energy, and neither could suppress the other. If one was determined to protect an area, the other party would not be able to break through. Chi. The dart that left his hand was constantly obstructed by the world energy, causing its speed to decrease. Furthermore, the world energy was constantly pushing the dart from the side, causing the dart to change its trajectory. Dongbo Shuiying could clearly feel the trajectory of the dart bending. Pung! The dart hit the wall of the castle far away. It was at least 3 meters away from Dongbo Qingshi and Zongling. Everyone says that the #1 expert of our Azure River County is you, Xiang Pengyun. Who would have thought that you would use my brother to influence me in a duel? Dongbo Shuiying sneered. I really looked down on you. Tsk. You are still so arrogant. I will let you die convinced. Xiang Pengyun attacked again at lightning speed. The saber was extremely fast. However, Dongbo Shuiying's marksmanship was also extremely fast. Clang. The two of them instantly turned into phantoms and exchanged blows. Their footwork was unpredictable, and Xiang Pengyun kept attacking and attacking. He kept moving forward, wanting to get closer to Dongbo Shuiying. Retreat. Dongbo Shuiying kept retreating. As the saying goes, an inch longer is an inch stronger. When using a long weapon like a spear, it was necessary to maintain a sufficient distance from the opponent as much as possible. Only then could the advantage of the spear be fully displayed. If they were to fight in close combat, it was obvious that Xiang Pengyun, who used a saber, would have a huge advantage. Xiang Pengyun kept advancing, wanting to get closer to Dongbo Shuiying. Dongbo Shuiying kept retreating to maintain the distance between them. So. How fast were the two of them? One of them kept advancing, while the other kept retreating. After a few simple exchanges, they even exchanged blows on top of the castle walls. After which, they left the castle walls and went outside the castle walls. Quick. Let's follow them and watch. Qingshi was somewhat anxious. We can't go. Tong-san, who was by the side, hurriedly said. Qingshi, we will stay here and watch. Zongling said. The terrain here is high enough. We can barely see the battle from afar. Furthermore, if something goes wrong, we can enter the main building of the castle and escape through the tunnel. If we get too close to the battlefield, at the level of your brother and Xiang Pengyun, I'm afraid we might accidentally injure and kill some Silver Moon rankers. Qingshi clenched his fists so tightly that his knuckles turned white. At this moment he suddenly hated himself. Why didn't he train hard in the past? Now he couldn't help at all. Previously, his brother told him to train hard so that he could save his parents in the future. Although he gritted his teeth and worked hard for a short period of time, he soon lost his willpower. To be honest, parents represented a very special meaning. He also knew that parents were very important, but he really didn't have any impression of them. He simply couldn't persevere any longer and soon became lazy. But at this moment, he felt an unprecedented nervousness because this time, the one in danger was his brother. My brother is very powerful. He can definitely win. He definitely can. Qingshi stood in front of the railing and looked at the two figures moving at high speed outside the castle walls. He couldn't see the two figures clearly. He only felt that they were a series of afterimages. Bang, 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 bang. Sometimes it was a low clashing sound, sometimes it was a clear clashing sound. Both sides were using different strength, defending or attacking. Even the sound of weapons clashing was different. At the same time, both sides controlled the heaven and earth energy. One was a formless air shield, while the other was a blood-red air wave. Dongbu Shuiying retreated a few steps. His eyes were solemn. We're already out of your castle? The corners of Zhang Pengyun's mouth curled into a smile as he looked at Snowrock Castle a mile away. TSK, TSK, TSK. You're really strong. You kept retreating while fighting with me. You actually lured me out of the castle. Are you afraid that our fight will hurt your subordinates? Your friends and relatives? Your subordinates are dead. Aren't you sad or angry at all? Dongbu Shuiying suddenly asked. He didn't feel any pain or anger from Xiang Pengyun regarding the death of Wind Demon and the other 3 assassins. Angry? What's there to be angry about? If you choose to be an assassin, you should be prepared to die. Furthermore, what does their death have to do with me? Xiang Pengyun said casually. If I didn't follow them, wouldn't the 4 of them still be dead? If I followed them, I could even avenge them. The 4 of them should be grateful to me, their big brother. Haha. Avenge? You're quite confident. Dongbu Shuiying sneered. From the short exchange just now, Dongbu Shuiying judged that Xiang Pengyun only had a slight advantage in terms of strength. Even if this Xiang Pengyun had some powerful techniques, he hadn't even activated his power bloodline yet. According to the description of some experts on the Dragon Mountain leaderboard, Dongbu Shuiying felt that he could barely make it into the leaderboard before attaining one with the heaven. It shouldn't be a problem for him to be ranked in the top 2 or 3,000. Now that he had attained one with the heaven, his body was absorbing the heaven and earth energy every day. His overall strength had increased. He had also mastered the Blood Rain spear art. He should be able to enter the top 1,000. The gap between him and Si Lianghong and Xiang Pengyun was very small. Winning might be very difficult. But if the opponent wanted to kill him, the chances of that happening should be low. Of course, these were all deductions from external information. To determine life and death, it would still depend on the actual battle. The confidence you show in front of me is not ordinary. Xiang Pengyun sneered. That's right. Being able to attain one with the heaven at 22 years old. Furthermore, you're a spear grandmaster with power as 1. TSK, TSK, TSK. You've attained power as 1 so quickly. Are you an innate 1 with the heaven or an innate power as 1? What do you think? Dongbu Shuiying asked. The realm of a grandmaster with power as 1 was very difficult to achieve. Just like that Lord God envoy. He had already attained one with the heaven long ago. However, he had never been able to attain power as 1. 1 with the heaven was the tempering of one's spirit. Power as 1 was the pinnacle of one's skills. There were many legend rankers who had first grasped the realm of 1 with the heaven. Only after their spirit energy had grown stronger would they be able to sense their body more clearly. Only then would they be able to attain power as 1. However, Dongbu Shuiying was different. Dongbu Shuiying did not walk on the path of tempering himself between life and death. What he walked on was purely an extremely solid foundation. He constantly perfected himself. With a terrifying solid foundation and astonishing perception, it allowed him to forcefully reach the realm of power as 1. At the very least, his spear techniques had already reached a pinnacle. Although one's techniques were superb, it did not mean that one's combat experience was plentiful. Thus, when Dongbu Shuiying entered the mountain range of desolation for the first time, his hands and feet were bound at the start. However, very quickly he no longer panicked. Nearing the Tao, the pinnacle of one's techniques. Beyond that would be an even higher level. At that level, one's spear techniques, blade techniques, etc. would be even more extraordinary. Normally, only transcendence would be able to reach that level. If you can attain power as 1 before attaining power as 1, then you will be even more monstrous. Xiang Pengyun's blood-red eyes flashed coldly. However, no matter how monstrous you are, it will be useless. Because tonight, you will die without a doubt. Who? As soon as he finished speaking, Xiang Pengyun brought along a blood-red wave of qi and charged towards him once again. Dongbu Shuiying also instantly shot out his spear. Like a venomous snake coming out of its hole, He shot out 3 consecutive spear strikes towards Xiang Pengyun's face, heart and throat. At this time, at the Great Mage's building located at the peak of Snowrock Mountain, a large group of people, including Great Mage Bai Yuanji and Kong Yuyu, had all come out. Actually, the commotion within Snowrock Castle had already caused the people in the Great Mage's building to be surprised. Following the battle between Dongbu Shuiying and Xiang Pengyun, the commotion became even bigger. Everyone in the Great Mage's building turned to look at them. Chapter 65. Yu walked out of the Great Mage's building with a heart full of doubts. There was already a large group of people outside the Great Mage's building. 2 legend rankers are fighting. 2 legend rankers. The group of young mages were very excited. Kong Yu also looked into the distance. Under the illumination of the moonlight, there was a huge blood-colored chi wave colliding with the distorted colorless chi cover. The scene in the distance was somewhat distorted. The collision of the world energy had a range of 200 to 300 meters. Boom boom boom, it was as if thunder was roaring. This kind of power made Yu's heart tremble. As a mage, she was very knowledgeable. With one look, she could tell that this was a legend ranker using the world energy. Legend ranker? Yu stared at the 2 fighting figures in disbelief. They are actually 2 legend rankers. Such existences should be standing at the top of the Azure River County. Why are they fighting at the top of Snowrock Mountain? Could it be that they are just passing by? Although the 2 terrifying rankers were extremely fast, they would stop abruptly during their fight. Some were even pushed back by the shockwave. Thus Yu was able to clearly see their appearances. She did not know who Xiang Pengyun was. But on the other side, there was a black-clothed youth holding a silver-gray spear. Snowflakes were floating around him. She was too familiar with this person. Dongbu Shuiying. Yu's eyes widened. He is a legend ranker? How is this possible? He is only 22 years old. When she was young, her father, Kong Hai, a shrewd businessman, had asked her to find a way to marry Dongbu Shuiying. In fact, Yu had always been sullen. Because her father did not value her. He thought that a girl would eventually have to get married. In fact, she was even unwilling to hire a good mage as a teacher. It was because she wanted to get closer to Dongbu Shuiying that she was sent to Bai Yuanji as a teacher. After becoming a mage, Yu was very hardworking. At the same time, her horizons were gradually broadened. She knew more and knew that the world was very big. What was Dongbu Shuiying, who was a tyrant in the remote water rights town, compared to the whole world? But before a good opportunity appeared, she had to endure. After all, Dongbu Shuiying was a good spare tire. Finally, the proud son of heaven of the Sea Clan, Si Chun, had arrived. The Sea Clan was a clan that could cover the sky with one hand in Azure River County. Even in the entire Tranquil Sun Province, they had quite a high status. If he could enter such a family, then he might have the opportunity to reach a higher position in the future. In her opinion, Dongbu Shuiying wasn't even worth mentioning in front of the Sea family. Si Chun was a stairway for her to reach higher heights. When Dongbu Shuiying discovered her true colors, she didn't care at all. He was just a martial arts fanatic from a small place. What was the big deal? Kong Yu looked at the 2 figures who were fighting like gods and demons. Some of the rocks in the distance collapsed and some of the rocks rolled down the mountain. One of the figures was someone that she was extremely familiar with in the past. All of you, hurry up and hide. Great Mage Bai Yuanji's beard trembled as he roared, "Quick, that saber wielder is Xiang Pengyun." It was Xiang Pengyun. Why are you still standing here like idiots? Do you want to die? Once the shockwave reaches you, you will lose your life in an instant. Xiang Pengyun? The #1 expert of the Azure River County, Xiang Pengyun. The Xiang Pengyun who is even more powerful than the Sea Clan's ancestor? These mage disciples all cried out in surprise. Their own teacher had already commented on some of the powerful figures of the Azure River County during his lectures. Among them, he emphasized on Xiang Pengyun and Si Lianghong. These 2 were the 2 skies of the entire Azure River County. Any one of them could easily kill a legend ranker. Their strength was unimaginable. Hurry up and get inside. Bai Yuanji roared. The other disciples all walked towards the Great Mage's building. Bai Yuanji waved his hand. Rumble. A huge black statue beside the Great Mage's building suddenly moved. This was a refiner organism that looked like a centipede. The edges of its black, flat, and wriggling body were covered with a flexible membrane. Brother Sichan, it's very dangerous now. The Great Mage's building isn't absolutely safe. It's better for us to sit on this black moon centipede and fly to the sky first. In the sky, we won't have to worry about being affected. Bai Yuanji said. Thank you, Brother Bai. Sichan was quite handsome. At the same time, he said, if it's possible, bring Yu along. And Bai Yuanji glanced at Yu and Jirong, then ordered Yu Jirong, the two of you come as well. We'll go to Snowrock Castle later, and bring Qingshi along as well. Bai Yuanji had his own considerations. When he saw the earth-shattering battle between Xiang Pengyun and Dongbu Shuiying, he was similarly stunned. Heavens, Dongbu Shuiying was actually able to fight against the infamous Xiang Pengyun? Although he felt that the chances of Dongbu Shuiying winning this battle were low, who knew if he could win? Or if he could save his life? Such a strong person he must be on good terms with. From his point of view, Yu and Dongbu Shuiying were very close. Jirong and Qingshi were even closer. It would be better to bring these two girls along. Yes, teacher. Yu and Jirong obediently complied. Bai Yuanji's other direct disciple had already left his tutelage. Who? Under Bai Yuanji's control, the Black Moon centipede instantly flew up into the sky. Bai Yuanji, Sichan, Yu and Jirong were sitting on it. The Black Moon centipede flew up to a height of a few hundred meters, and simultaneously flew towards Snowrock Castle. Xiang Pengyun actually appeared here. Sichan looked down at the battle between the two experts and was still trembling. That Dongbu Shuiying is actually fighting on par with him. How is this possible? This Xiang Pengyun and my family's ancestor are on the same level. According to what I know, when Xiang Pengyun was an assassin, he had killed a few legend rankers. Normally, he would kill them in one move. Why would he fight for such a long time? Brother Sichan, your experience is still too little. Bai Yuanji commented. Look at the commotion caused by the battle between the two of them. Look at the scene of the surrounding rocks collapsing. According to my calculations, the shockwave produced by their battle has already far exceeded that of a normal legend ranker. Sichan nodded slightly. Xiang Pengyun could dominate Azure River County for so long. He definitely has some powerful methods. Bai Yuanji said. In this battle, Dongbu Shuiying is in danger. Of course, to be able to fight with Xiang Pengyun to this extent, he is already very amazing. He is only 22 years old. This is really unimaginable and inconceivable. If we give him another 5 or 6 years, I'm afraid that his strength will surpass Xiang Pengyun and Si Lianghong, becoming the strongest in our Azure River County. Sichan did not want to believe it, but the truth was right in front of him. He is indeed amazing. Sichan praised, truly amazing. To be so powerful at 22 years old, even in our Dragon Mountain Empire, he might even have a chance to become a transcendent. The two of them were amazed. Yu and Jirong were shocked. Jirong's face turned pale. She knew that her thoughts were wrong. In this Snowrock Castle, all wealth was just an illusion. The most terrifying and powerful person was Dongbu Shuiying. Yu was also shocked. The one fighting with Dongbu Shuiying was actually Xiang Pengyun? Yu was stunned. Xiang Pengyun? The strongest in Azure River County? Dongbu Shuiying could fight with him to this extent? He was only 22 years old. In the future, he might even become a transcendent. Yu felt her heart was empty. She was anxious and powerless. A chance to reach the heavens in a single bound had been right in front of her. But she had missed it. Why couldn't she endure it? Wouldn't she have been able to see this battle if she had waited for a while longer? Why did she decide to abandon him at that time? Why did she say those words to her brother? She finally understood why Dongbu Shuiying could hear her conversation. As a legend ranker who was one with the world, how could she hide her actions? Phew! Yu slowly exhaled a breath of air, feeling a sense of loss. If she had followed Dongbu Shuiying wholeheartedly, she might have been able to climb to the top of the Dragon Mountain Empire. That was a level that she could not even imagine. She suddenly realized she might have missed the most important opportunity in her life. It was too difficult to encounter such an opportunity again in this lifetime. Not good, Xiang Pengyun is going all out. Bai Yuanji suddenly exclaimed. Peng peng peng. The intensity of the battle below suddenly rose to another level. Whether it was the Black Moon centipede in the sky or the people in Snowrock Castle, everyone's heart was in their throats. Everyone could see the intensity of the battle increase. Dongbuishuiying was bombarded into the mountain rocks. The mountain trembled and a huge crack appeared. Dongbuishuiying hurriedly dodged. A biting cold blade descended from the sky. Pung! Dongbuishuiying staggered backwards from the impact. Ha ha ha! Dongbuishuiying, I was just playing with you just now. A plaything like you, I'm afraid it's hard for me to meet even once or twice in my life. But now I'm done playing. It's time for you to die. Xiang Pengyun's laughter resounded through the sky. His strength and speed had all increased by a huge amount, completely suppressing Dongbuishuiying. Dongbuishuiying tried his best to use his spear to block, but he was beaten into a sorry state. Rumble, a huge cliff broke apart and rolled down the mountain. Fighting with an expert like you, I've benefited a lot. I wanted to continue fighting for a while longer. It's a pity that you don't want to play anymore. Dongbuishuiying tumbled backwards and landed on a huge rock. There was no trace of panic in his eyes, only excitement. Then let's fight to the death. A faint blood-red aura appeared on the surface of Dongbuishuiying's body, and his life force suddenly increased. Power bloodline activate. Take this. Boom. A frightening shadow of a spear, carrying with it a might that could sweep through the heavens and earth, swept over a distance of over 100 meters, and suddenly lashed out. Xiang Pengyun fiercely slashed out with his saber. Accompanied by a loud boom, Xiang Pengyun's eyes widened in shock, and he could not help but take 6 steps back. Each step caused the ground on the mountain peak to tremble, and then his body crashed into a large tree behind him. Hong! The tree directly exploded. Xiang Pengyun could not believe that he was actually at a disadvantage. What? In the night sky, Great Wizard Bai Yuanji and the rest who were on the Black Moon centipede widened their eyes in disbelief. Great! Qing Shi, Zhongling, Tong San and the rest who were watching nervously from the Snowrock Castle all became excited. Chapter 66. Who? When the spear collided with Xiang Pengyun's saber, Dongbuishuiying exerted strength in both his arms, causing the spear to twist, forming a shocking arc. It was as if a flood dragon had emerged from the water and continued to stab towards Xiang Pengyun. Dang! Xiang Pengyun did not dare to face the spear head-on. He held the saber with both hands and defended while retreating. How did his strength increase so much in such a short period of time? This increase in strength is simply too much. Xiang Pengyun did not dare to believe it. Usually the more powerful Do-Chi techniques have some desperate methods, allowing the user to unleash more Do-Chi in an instant, increasing the power. But normally, the increase in strength would not be so exaggerated. His strength had doubled. This was simply too shocking. It was like 2 ordinary soldiers. One had the strength of 50 Jin, the other 200 Jin. One could easily beat the other. And when one's strength increased, one had the strength of 50,000 Jin, the other had the strength of 100,000 Jin. Actually, the difference in strength was even more obvious during combat, because one side had the strength of 50,000 Jin more than the other. In terms of techniques, the weaker side would lose his life in 2 or 3 moves. Die! Dongbuishuiying advanced rapidly. His spear was like a dragon, attacking continuously. Boo! In an instant, the spear tore through the air and stabbed towards Xiang Pengyun's face. Xiang Pengyun frantically dodged, using his saber to block. Block! The stab immediately turned into a collapsing force, the spearhead directly causing Xiang Pengyun to fly up and crash into a nearby mountain rock. The mountain rock immediately cracked and turned into countless rocks. Die, die, die! Each of Dongbuishuiying's spear was faster than the previous. Each strike aimed to take a life. After gaining the upper hand in strength, Dongbuishuiying's continuous attacks brought about a suffocating sense of threat, as though he could lose his life at any moment. On the other side, the Black Moon centipede rapidly landed on Snowrock Castle. Bai Yuanji said, "Brother Zhongling, Brother Tong and Qing Shi, quickly come up. We'll fly high up in the sky. That way, Sir Lord can fight Xiang Pengyun with a peace of mind. If you guys stay here, Xiang Pengyun might not be able to win and kill you guys to threaten the Lord." "Thank you, Great Mage," Zhongling said. At the same time he said, "Tong San, Qing Shi, let's hurry up. The Black Moon centipede was a relatively large alchemy organism. Its body was rather long, and it could still support 7 people on its back. If they squeezed a little, even 10 people would be able to sit on it. Zhongling, Tongsan and Qingshi quickly went up and sat down. Who? The Black Moon centipede quickly slithered towards the sky. Qingshi. Jirong whispered. Qingshi, who was on Jirong's back, glanced at her. His mood at this moment was completely different from how it was during the day. He had always been carefree. Because of his girlfriend and his brother's overbearing behavior, he willfully said some words that hurt his brother's heart. But now that she had seen that battle, especially when she saw that her brother was in danger and could lose his life at any moment. Moreover, this battle was because of the trouble he caused. This made him no longer have any temper towards his brother. There was only nervousness and worry. At the same time, after losing some of his anger towards his brother, he could naturally stand on a more impartial point of view and recall what he had said to his brother during the day. At that time I thought that it was only one side of the story, and that most of it was just conjecture. But in reality, Jirong's words were also one side of the story. In comparison, brother's words were backed by Dragon Mountain Manor's intelligence. Dragon Mountain Manor monitors the world, and their intelligence is more trustworthy. Qingshi thought to himself. Young people in love would always be hot-headed, especially when it was their first love. He was also 16 years old, the age where it was easiest for him to lose his hair. But in the face of his brother's life, he calmed down. Although he was simple, he was not stupid. On the contrary, he was very smart. If Dragon Mountain Manor's intelligence is completely correct, Jirong's father and mother are extremely hypocritical and vicious people. Jirong is also very vicious. This kind of family are all like this? Qingshi felt a chill run down his spine. Not good. Just as the Black Moon centipede flew into the sky, before Qingshi and Jirong could speak, Great Master Bai Yuanji's expression changed. Qingshi, Zhongling and Tongsen all looked down. The situation had indeed changed again. Originally, Xiang Pangyun, who was wearing a dark red robe, had a layer of blood red flowing light on the surface of his body, making his whole body look like a blood red figure. That blood red flowing light was his protective Do Qi. But now the layer of Do Qi had completely disappeared, and at the same time his aura had clearly become stronger. Even though they were high up in the sky, they could not help but feel fear. I have not used my full strength for 30 years. Even that old fellow Si Liang Hong was not willing to fight a real battle with me. Dongbu Shuiying, you forced me to use my full strength. Even if I die, you should be satisfied. Xiang Pengyun's ruthless aura was monstrous. In the past, his faint blood-red eyes had now become completely blood-red. The Do Qi within his body was rapidly being consumed. Even his protective Do Qi had been withdrawn into his body to maintain this consumption. The consumption rate had skyrocketed. Naturally, his strength had also skyrocketed. A true top-notch Do Qi technique would usually have a desperate move. In the end, Dongbu Shuiying had only learned a very weak middle-grade Do Qi technique, 3-stage flame technique. He did not have such a desperate move. In fact, even if he did, it would be useless. With just a silver moon rank Do Qi, it would be useless against him. After all, Dongbu Shuiying's body was much stronger than Do Qi. Boom. Both sides clashed. Dongbu Shuiying was bombarded again and again as he retreated and dodged again and again. Not good. Dongbu Shuiying's expression changed. Is this Xiang Pengyun's true strength? My current strength is still far from the top 500 rankers of the Dragon Mountain role. He had already activated his power bloodline and was going all out. Hua! A white ray of light flashed past. Dongbu Shuiying dodged at lightning speed. When the tip of his spear clashed with the white ray of light, the white ray of light changed its direction slightly and swept across the surroundings. The surrounding rocks and trees were all neatly sliced apart. Such a fast blade. Dongbu Shuiying dodged with all his might. Xiang Pengyun had already reached power as one. His weapon was not any weaker than Dongbu Shuiying's. His blade technique was also extremely powerful, not any weaker than the Black Ice Spear technique. Furthermore, his experience was much richer than Dongbu Shuiying's. After gaining the upper hand, Dongbu Shuiying immediately felt a sense of crisis. Every time he blocked, he felt that it was very strenuous. In the sky, Qingshi, Zhongling by Yuanji and the others who were on the Black Moon Centipede became nervous. Yu and Jirong also had complicated feelings as they looked down anxiously. Is he going to die? Although Jirong was nervous, she was also looking forward to it. Dongbo Shuiying. Yu was in a dilemma. If Dongbo Shuiying died in battle, it would be a wise decision for her to give up on Dongbo Shuiying. But on the other hand, she did not have much resentment towards Dongbo Shuiying. They had been together for a long time. At the very least, she was very familiar with him. If he died in battle, she would feel bad. Brother. Qingshi was extremely nervous. Zhongling and Tongsan were the same. The three of them were the most nervous ones. Dongbo Shuiying was their closest kin. Zhongling and Tongsan had watched Dongbo Shuiying grow up. They treated him like their own child. How could they not be nervous and worried? But the three of them had no other choice but to watch. So. Dongbo Shuiying moved like lightning. After he unleashed his power, his speed was extremely fast. His spear technique turned into a mirage as he blocked every attack. He had pushed himself to the limit. Xiang Pengyun's speed was even faster. His blade technique was even more ferocious. The peak of Snowrock Mountain was in a mess. Some of the trees and rocks had been smashed into pieces. We can't go on like this. Dongbo Shuiying's forehead was full of sweat. It's too tiring. If we continue to fight like this, we might lose our lives. Run. While Dongbo Shuiying was fighting, he had been paying attention to his brother. When Great Mage Bai Yuanji brought his brother, Uncle Zong and Uncle Tong to the sky on the Black Moon Centipede, Dongbo Shuiying was no longer worried. What he needed to do now was to protect his own life. So, Dongbo Shuiying clashed with his weapon again. In an instant, he used the force to run 200 to 300 meters away. He had escaped. Escape? Do you think you can escape? Xiang Pengyun laughed sinisterly. In a flash, he chased after Dongbo Shuiying. Chapter 67. Dongbo Shuiying ran with all his might, leaving behind a blurry afterimage. The world energy around him surged, blocking the blood-red chi wave behind him. Xiang Pengyun chased after him with a ferocious expression. The distance between the two of them continued to shrink. Although he could not see what was happening behind him, the world energy could sense that Xiang Pengyun was getting closer. His speed is faster than mine. Dongbo Shuiying's speed was too fast. In just a few breaths, he had already reached the edge of a cliff on Snowrock Mountain. So, exerting strength from both his legs, he stomped on the ground. Shuiying leapt off from the edge of the cliff and flew across the sky towards another mountain on the opposite side of the mountain. Humph! Xiang Pengyun also leapt out from the mountain and continued chasing after Dongbo Shuiying. At their level, with the world energy acting as a buffer, they would be fine no matter how high they jumped from. Most importantly, with the help of the world energy, they would have the strength of 1,000 jin. As long as their body weight did not exceed 1,000 jin, they would be able to fly slowly. However, this kind of flying was too slow. One had to know that a meteor-rank flying beast would have the strength of tens of thousands of jin with a single flap of its wings. With the addition of its body structure, it would be able to reach the speed of sound. For legend rankers like Dongbo Shuiying, with just the help of the world energy, their flying speed was too slow. Regardless of whether it was flying boats, flying gold-smelted artifacts or flying beasts, they would be able to leave them far behind. Even ordinary birds might be able to fly faster than them. Furthermore, it was not easy to borrow strength from the air. Strength came from the roots, and the feet were the roots. For example, when a spear thrust or a blade slashed, the strength would be transmitted from the feet. When in the air, one would not be able to exert strength from the feet. After all, the world energy could only support the strength of 1,000 jin. How could a legend ranker exert strength from the feet? The world energy would not be able to support them, and they would not be able to display their full strength in the air. Thus, they rarely fought in the air. Peng! With the help of the heaven and earth energy, Dongbo Shuiying crossed 300 meters in a single leap and landed on the other side of the mountain. The ground beneath his feet shook violently, and he continued to flee at high speed without any hesitation. Peng! Xiang Pengyun also landed halfway up the mountain and chased after it crazily. Run, run, run! The two of them accelerated to the limit. Mountains and rivers were like flat ground to them. In fact, as they were fleeing, Dongbu Ying's spear swept past some of the boulders beside him, sending them flying towards Xiang Pengyun. However, Xiang Pengyun's body flashed as he stepped on the boulder and continued his pursuit. He would not be so foolish as to split the boulder apart, as that would be a waste of time. The distance between them continued to shorten. In just a few breaths' time he had crossed 3 mountains. Just as he leaped over the 4th mountain, Xiang Pengyun caught up with him. The two of them clashed again in mid-air. Chi-Chi Dongbu turned around to face Xiang Pengyun. In mid-air, Xiang Pengyun charged forward with his saber, turning into a white ray of light. Dongbu tried to block it with his spear, but Xiang Pengyun changed his saber technique, not giving Dongbu the chance to do so. Both of them were very smart. The moment they clashed head-on, Xiang Pengyun would suffer from the recoil, and his speed would be greatly reduced. On the other hand, Dongbu would be able to make use of the recoil to increase his speed. Trying to kill me without clashing head-on? Dongbu laughed coldly. The spear in his hand turned into an arc, and the tip of the spear was like a whirlpool, spinning continuously. At the same time it turned into a lightning-fast attack. Snowflakes were floating around the spear, and Xiang Pengyun was unable to get his way. Wanting to break through Dongbu Ying's spear technique without relying on strength and speed? That was too difficult. After all, the gap between them was not that big yet. In mid-air, both of them exchanged over 10 moves. Dong! Dongbu landed on the side of a mountain. The moment he landed, he immediately changed his direction and dashed to the side. Xiang Pengyun, who had just landed, had no choice but to chase after him. Damn it! If I don't use my strength to suppress him head-on, it will be hard for me to kill him. Xiang Pengyun nodded his head. It's better to suppress him head-on. Even if he uses the momentum to escape, I still have a chance to kill him every time I exchange blows with him. After changing his strategy, everything was different. Boom! On a rocky beach there was a surging azure river that was thousands of meters wide. Dongbu and Xiang Pengyun exchanged blows once again. Dongbu did not dare to turn his back to Xiang Pengyun, and he had to face him head-on. In an instant both of them exchanged over 10 moves. Dongbu had been looking for an opportunity. Fighting head-on was not always possible. For example, if his opponent slashed downwards, he would not be able to use the momentum. Could he use the momentum to dig into the ground? Xiang Pengyun tried to suppress Dongbu head-on, but he did not want to give Dongbu a chance to escape. However, the more they exchanged blows, the more opportunities there would be. After all, in a life-and-death battle, many moves were based on instinct, and there was no room to be picky. Run! Dongbu found an opportunity again. Using the momentum from the collision, he ran 200 to 300 meters away, and ran on the surface of the river. Damn it, he escaped again. Xiang Pengyun's blood-red eyes were filled with madness. Every time you exchange blows with me, you are always hovering on the edge of life and death. Let's see how long you can last. Both of them, one in front and one behind, chased each other crazily on the surface of the river. In the night sky, the black moon centipede was desperately flying, and on top of it, there was a faint light screen. Inside the light screen were by Yuanji Qingshi, Zhongling Tongsan, Kongyu Sichun and Ji Rong. They were nervously watching the shocking chase below, watching the two of them running on the surface of the river, as if they were walking on the surface of the river. Both parties in the pursuit battle had erupted with strength that made them tremble. Xiang Pengyun had already been forced to use his Douqi secret technique. Dongbu had also activated his power bloodline long ago. Logically speaking, Xiang Pengyun and Dongbu would consume a lot of energy under such a situation. Fortunately, both of them were one with the world, and constantly had the energy of heaven and earth flowing into their bodies to replenish their energy. Thus, they could last longer in a battle. If they did not use their bloodline, they could fight for days and nights without running out of energy. Too fast, their speed is too fast. Bai Yuanji, Sichun and the rest were shocked. They are still fighting while chasing. Sichun exclaimed, there are even mountains, rivers and forests on the way. But we have been chasing in a straight line in the sky, and it is still so difficult to track them. This black moon centipede's speed is probably at half the speed of sound. Close to half. There are a lot of people up there this time. Normally it would be more than half. Bai Yuanji nodded. Close to half the speed of sound, flying in a straight line in the sky was already very difficult. One could imagine how fast the two of them were. Is this his strength? Yu looked at the two figures that were chasing each other. She couldn't help but hold her breath. In the past, she had always thought that Dongbo Shuiying was a martial arts fanatic. But now she felt how wrong she was. This kind of strength was enough to make mortals despair. Mortals, even an army of 100,000 or 1,000,000, would be a joke in front of this kind of strength. Although they are not transcendents, they are close to it. Bai Yuanji said, I heard that those who are ranked at the top of the Dragon Mountain book even have the strength to kill some weak transcendents. Xiang Pangyun is ranked 500, so his strength should be close to transcendence. Close to transcendence? The rest of them looked at the two of them and were shocked. Brother. Qing Shi clenched his fists tightly as he looked down. He was proud to have such a big brother, but he was also incomparably nervous and worried. He even felt guilty because this battle was caused by him. Even though Shuiying never blamed him, and even felt that it was normal for his little brother to retaliate in self-defense under such circumstances, Qing Shi felt that it was normal. But Qing Shi still felt guilty and blamed himself, especially because he had just quarreled with his brother during the day. Brother, you will definitely survive. Definitely. Qing Shi had never been so nervous and worried since he was young. If his brother really died, he wouldn't know what to do. He didn't even dare to think about the result. Dongbo Shuiying was frantically escaping. Hoo, the wind was whistling in his ears, and the surroundings were moving backwards at high speed. Only Xiang Pangyun was getting closer. In the blink of an eye, the two of them had already fought 9 times. They had already escaped 100 miles away. Almost there. Dongbo Shuiying looked at the towering mountain in front of him. The only chance for me, Dongbo Shuiying, to survive is here. Chapter 68. Dongbo Shuiying soon arrived at the foot of the mountain and started to rush up. So, his body turned into a shadow as he flew up the mountain. In the blink of an eye, he had reached a height of 200 to 300 meters. Xiang Pangyun did not hesitate to chase after him. The two of them, one in front and one behind, approached the peak of the mountain. This seemingly majestic mountain was like a flat ground to Dongbo Shuiying and Xiang Pangyun. Rushing up the mountain again? Xiang Pangyun had already climbed over several mountains. First he did not think much of it. But as the wind grew stronger, his face changed. This is Black Wind Cliff? This Dongbo Shuiying is actually rushing towards Black Wind Cliff? Xiang Pangyun immediately understood his intention. Black Wind Cliff itself was not that dangerous. But the abyss beside Black Wind Cliff was the famous Forbidden Land, Black Wind Abyss. One must know that the mountain range of desolation was the place where most demonic beasts gathered. The clash between humans and demonic beasts had been going on for countless years. Even with the birth of powerful existences like the Dragon Mountain Emperor, the demonic beasts could not be exterminated. Demonic beasts wanted to eat humans, and humans wanted to kill demonic beasts. Mortal armies would sweep through the area, and transcendents from both sides would occasionally fight to the death. Therefore, in the mountain range of desolation, there were some special areas caused by terrifying battles. Some of these areas were even dangerous to transcendents. These areas were mostly located deep within the mountain range of desolation. As for the areas outside the mountain range of desolation, there were dozens of such areas. Among them, Black Wind Abyss was a forbidden land hundreds of miles away from the mountain range of desolation. A long time ago, Black Wind Abyss was like this. This place was known as a forbidden land. You want to go to Black Wind Cliff? Xiang Pangyun's face was ferocious as he chased after Dongbo Shuiying. Of course I am going to Black Wind Cliff. Are you afraid? Dongbo Shuiying flew in front. Damn it. Xiang Pangyun chased after Dongbo Shuiying. Halfway up the mountain, when the two of them had flown more than 2,000 meters, they began to fight again. This time Xiang Pangyun really wanted to kill Dongbo Shuiying. Although he had the upper hand, the gap between the two of them had not reached the point of despair. Not to mention, upon seeing a chance of survival, Dongbo Shuiying's fighting spirit grew even stronger as he fought with all his might. After a head-on collision, Dongbo Shuiying continued charging upwards. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The wind around them grew stronger and stronger. The wind was gray, and the higher up they went, the darker the black color became. We're almost there. Dongbo Shuiying had never been here before. He only knew how scary this place was. We can't catch up. Xiang Pengyun wanted to fight again before Dongbo Shuiying reached the Black Wind Cliff. But judging from the distance between them, it was too late. Whoosh! Dongbo Shuiying continued flying and finally arrived at the highest point of the mountain. It was a barren mountain peak that was at least 200 to 300 meters tall. Not even a single blade of grass grew on the peak. A black gale was howling in the surroundings. Black Wind Cliff. Dongbo Shuiying stood at the peak of the mountain. This barren mountain peak was none other than the Black Wind Cliff. Beside the Black Wind Cliff there was a huge black whirlpool. The black whirlpool covered an area of a few thousand meters, and it seemed to be able to engulf everything in the world. This scene was extremely shocking. Even legend rankers would feel extremely weak in front of it. The black whirlpool led to the deepest part of the mountain. What a strong wind! Even though he was standing on the Black Wind Cliff, Shuiying felt as if thousands of kilograms of force was exerting on his body. The closer he got to the edge of the cliff, the stronger the force of the gale became, sometimes exceeding 5,000 kilograms. Only experts of the same rank could stand stably on the Black Wind Cliff. Even Silver Moon Knights, whose strength exceeded 5,000 kilograms, would not be able to stand stably on such a gale, and might even be swept into the Black Wind Abyss. Haha, Xiang Pengyun, do you dare to have a life and death battle with me on the Black Wind Cliff? Dongbo Shuiying held the Feishua godly spear in his hand as he stared at Xiang Pengyun, who was also coming up. Xiang Pengyun looked at the surrounding scene with an ugly expression on his face. They were able to stand stably on the Black Wind Cliff. But if they were to engage in a life and death battle, both sides would be moving at high speeds. Especially when their weapons collided. If they were not careful, they would be thrown off the Black Wind Cliff. If they were to fly up, even with the help of the world energy, they would only be able to exert 1,000 jin of strength. It would be impossible for them to resist the violent winds of the Black Wind Abyss. You should know how dangerous the Black Wind Abyss is. It is a dangerous place with a history of over 10,000 years. Once trapped inside, Transcendence might be able to come out alive. But for legend rankers below Transcendence, although there have been many legend rankers who have ventured into the Black Wind Abyss in the past 10,000 years. But for those who have truly entered the depths, not a single one has been able to come out alive. Dongbo Shuiying said. Those who were below Transcendence who dared to enter had all died. Of course there might be some who survived. But at least according to the public records, no one had been able to come out alive. From this it could be seen how dangerous it was. Transcendents have also said that the Black Wind Abyss is filled with endless power. Once sucked into the abyss, the speed of the whirlpool would become faster and faster. Even a legend ranker would die from the fall. Dongbo Shuiying continued to talk about the terrifying dangers of the abyss, hoping to scare Xiang Pengyun. That was indeed the case. Under normal circumstances, it was impossible for a legend ranker to die from falling from such a high altitude. But in the Black Wind Abyss, once sucked into the whirlpool, the violent winds would become extremely strong and the speed of the fall would become faster and faster. Very soon one would surpass the speed of sound and reach a terrifying speed. Even a legend ranker would not be able to slow down. That bit of world energy was useless in the depths of the whirlpool. The moment one collided with the bottom of the abyss, a legend ranker would immediately die from the fall. Therefore, they would not even be able to survive the first trial. Those who had previously explored the abyss would only slowly go down the cliff. Unless they retreated halfway, those who dared to enter the abyss would also die. Clearly, the dangers of the Black Wind Abyss were not as simple as the violent winds. You are very good. Xiang Pengyun's blood-red eyes were filled with killing intent. Very good. It has been a long time since I, Xiang Pengyun, have been forced into such a situation. It was only when I was younger and weaker that I had to face such dangers. However, I have already lived for more than 100 years. So what if I die? Haha. Furthermore, as an assassin, I have never been afraid of death. Today I will accompany you, Dongbo Shuiying, to have a battle on the Black Wind Cliff. Let's see who will die. Xiang Pengyun started walking towards Dongbo Shuiying. First he was walking very slowly. Then he gradually increased his speed. Obviously, he was trying to adapt to the violent winds. The world energy from both sides was still colliding. However, this bit of world energy seemed so weak in the face of the violent winds. You really have guts. Dongbu Shuiying's eyes were also filled with fighting intent. Let's see who will live and who will die. This place was the only place that he could think of that had a chance of survival. After all, even if he tried to escape, he would not be able to escape too far. Xiang Pengyun had been chasing him all this time. Even if he tried to escape, he would only be able to escape within a 100 to 200 li radius. Escape towards the water rights town? To Xiang Pengyun and Dongbu Shuiying, the water rights town was not a threat at all. They could escape towards the depths of the mountain range of desolation. However, the Snowrock Castle was already 1,000 li away from the periphery of the mountain range of desolation. The distance to the depths of the mountain range of desolation was even further. The Black Wind Cliff was the only place that he could think of. It was an extremely dangerous place. It would be best if Xiang Pengyun retreated in the face of difficulties and did not want to fight with his life. However, if Xiang Pengyun continued to fight, and both sides fought, one of them might accidentally get sucked into the Black Wind Abyss. The more external factors, the more likely it was for him to have a chance of survival. Kill! Xiang Pengyun moved. In a blink of an eye, he dashed forward and slashed the saber in his hand towards Dongbu Shuiying's legs. Dang! His long spear immediately blocked the attack. At the same time he tried to retreat. The impact of the collision between the weapons was extremely strong. Coupled with the violent winds, he could not help but retreat. His feet even left the ground. Seeing that he was about to be sucked into the Black Wind Abyss, Dongbu Shuiying immediately swung the long spear in his hand. Pung! The long spear pierced into the ground, and instantly rebounded, dodging the attack. Fighting on the Black Wind Cliff is indeed different. Dongbu Shuiying was secretly shocked. He knew that this place was dangerous, and he was mentally prepared for it. However, he had never fought here before. Dongbu Shuiying, in terms of combat experience, I am much more experienced than you. Xiang Pengyun laughed sinisterly as he continued to attack. At the peak of the Black Wind Cliff, under the violent winds, the two of them began to fight crazily. Boom! Xiang Pengyun was forced to retreat. He quickly slashed his saber at the mountain rocks to borrow strength, and continued to attack Dongbu Shuiying. Dongbu Shuiying raised his long spear, wanting to throw Xiang Pengyun into the air, so that he would not be sucked into the abyss. However, Xiang Pengyun did not even try to block the attack. After all, he had the upper hand and the initiative was in his hands. Both sides were trying their best to kill each other. The peak of the Black Wind Cliff was filled with cracks and ravines. Large amounts of rocks were thrown into the air, and were sucked into the depths of the Black Wind Abyss. Chapter 69. The Black Wind Cliff was so high that it pierced through the clouds. High above the clouds, the Black Moon Centipede hovered. On the back of the centipede by Yuanji Qingshi, Zhongling Tongsan, Kongyu Jirong Sichan and the rest were all nervously watching the battle below. The Black Wind Cliff, they are actually fighting to the death on the Black Wind Cliff. Bai Yuanji exclaimed. Beside the Black Wind Cliff, above the Black Wind Abyss was a huge Black Wind Whirlpool. The huge whirlpool set off endless gales, as if the heavens and earth were shaking and twisting. This kind of power caused them to feel a little afraid. In the whistling black wind, two figures were crazily fighting on the cliff. They are in danger now. Once they leave the ground without any support, they will be sucked into the Black Wind Abyss. Bai Yuanji said, sucked into the Black Wind Abyss. Us mortals will definitely die. I'm afraid that only transcendents will be able to come out alive. This Xiang Pengyun, why is he chasing after my brother? Qingshi was so anxious that his body was trembling. Didn't he want to kill me? My brother has no grudge against him. Why is he fighting with my brother on the Black Wind Cliff without any regard for his life? Yes. Bai Yuanji shook his head. It's fine if he chased us all the way here. The Black Wind Cliff is indeed very dangerous, but Xiang Pengyun still doesn't give up. AI, no wonder people say that he is a madman who enjoys killing. He doesn't think the same way as we do. Perhaps to him, your brother is the best prey. Damn, why is it like this? Qingshi anxiously looked at the two figures fighting below. The spear-wielding black-clothed youth was his brother. his most important family member. Time passed minute by minute. Dongbu Shuiying was walking on the edge of life and death. He even deliberately approached the edge of the black wind cliff to make Xiang Pangyun more cautious. Peng! Both sides separated from each other. Xiang Pangyun didn't continue to attack, but stared at Dongbu Shuiying. You still haven't used up your battle qi? Xiang Pangyun was somewhat unwilling. What's wrong? Is your dou qi about to run out? Like I said, you've been using your dou qi secret technique for so long it should be running out soon. On the other hand, Dongbu Shuiying's eyes were filled with excitement. He had succeeded. He had made use of the dangerous environment of the black wind cliff to make Xiang Pangyun hesitate. That was why he was able to hold on for so long. After a long time, both of them were in a state of explosive power. When Xiang Pangyun used his dou qi secret technique, the rate at which his dou qi was consumed rapidly increased. Dongbu Shuiying had also activated his bloodline of power, and his stamina was also being depleted rapidly. Although the power of heaven and earth was replenished, the replenishment could not keep up with the consumption. Finally, Xiang Pangyun's battle energy could not hold on any longer. He had finally grasped this slim chance of survival. Why do you have more dou qi than me? Xiang Pangyun did not dare to believe it. He had lived for so long, and his dou qi cultivation had already reached the level of transcendent perfection. His techniques were passed down to him by his father. Logically speaking, it was rare to find a legend ranker who had more dou qi than him. Not to mention a brat who had just stepped into the legend ranker. How would he know? What Dongbu Shuiying was consuming was his stamina. In terms of endurance, it was obvious that it would last longer than his explosive dou qi. Your dou qi is about to run out. If you continue to fight, you will be the one to die. Dongbu Shuiying stared at his opponent. Xiang Pangyun's speed was faster than his, and he still had some dou qi left. If he were to escape now, he would definitely be able to leave him far behind. Dongbu Shuiying. Xiang Pangyun did not panic. His blood-red eyes looked at the black-robed youth in front of him. I admire you. You are only 22 years old this year, and you are already able to achieve one with the world. Furthermore, your strength is as one. You are even able to fight with me to this extent. In terms of strength, although you are slightly weaker than me and Si Liang Hong, you are still qualified to be ranked in the top 1,000 of the Dragon Mountain book. 22 years old, and you are already so amazing. You still have a long life ahead of you. If you continue to fight, there is an 80 to 90% chance that you will become a transcendent in the future. Once you become a transcendent, you will be on a whole new level. Dongbu Shuiying felt that something was amiss. Something was wrong. Logically speaking, his dou qi was about to run out. Xiang Pangyun should either seize the opportunity to continue attacking, or he should immediately give up and retreat. Why is he talking nonsense here? A future transcendent. Killing you is a huge contribution. Xiang Pangyun suddenly laughed sinisterly. Hong. His entire body suddenly started to change. He started to expand rapidly, and a large amount of black scales appeared on the surface of his expanded skin. In a blink of an eye, the Xiang Pangyun in front of him had turned into a black four-hoofed mutated beast that was over 10 meters long. The four-hoofed mutated beast had a pair of scaled wings. Its eyes were blood-red in color, and the black scales on its body had a faint blood-red color circulating around it. It was strange and unfathomable. The aura it was emitting made even Dongbu Shuiying feel threatened. Its body height was at least 6 meters. With such a huge demonic beast appearing in front of him, Dongbu Shuiying was completely stunned. The demonic beast? You are not a human. Dongbu Shuiying did not dare to believe his eyes. A demonic beast, and a mutated demonic beast at that. He instantly came to a conclusion. The demonic beast in front of him was a terrifying 6th-ranked demonic beast. Furthermore, it was a mutated one. In terms of strength, a 6th-ranked demonic beast was equivalent to a legend ranker. There were actually only so many normal demonic beasts. They were all recorded in human books, and could be recognized with a single glance. As for the mutated demonic beast, it was a demonic beast that had awakened its primordial bloodline that was not even recorded in the books. In the primordial era, there were giants and also beasts. Therefore, it was extremely rare for demonic beasts to awaken their primordial bloodline. Unlike humans who relied on their qi, demonic beasts relied on their bodies. Therefore, the mutated demonic beasts that awakened their primordial bloodline were extremely terrifying. Humph. The four-hooved black-armored demonic beast's blood-red eyes were filled with madness. It was bestowed by its father, and obtained a human body. Then it blended into the human world. Even a legend ranker would not be able to live beyond 200 years, unless it was like Si Liang Hong who had transformed her body into a blood demon. As for his alias Xiang Peng Yuan, he had been in the human world for over 100 years. Even if he did not expose himself this time, he would still have to return to the human world after a few more years. This time Wind Demon accepted the mission. Actually, Xiang Peng Yuan did not want to get involved. However, when he heard from the Bloodshed Tavern that Dongbu Shuiying might be a legend ranker, his heart was moved. 22 years old, such a young age. The Bloodshed Tavern would not shoot without thinking. If Dongbu Shuiying was really a legend ranker, such a young legend ranker would definitely become a transcendent in the future. Killing such a genius would definitely be a great contribution. It would be even greater than killing 10 or 20 other legend rankers. Therefore, Xiang Peng Yuan took the initiative to tag along. The truth was even more shocking than what he had expected. This Dongbu Shuiying, not only had he achieved one with the world, his strength had also reached perfection. Furthermore, his strength had increased to a level that was close to his own. Such a monstrous genius was rarely seen in the entire Dragon Mountain Empire. How could he give up on such a great contribution? Therefore, he did not care about anything else to kill Dongbu Shuiying. From the start, the reason why he tagged along was because of this human genius. Dongbu Shuiying prepared to die. The four-hoofed black-scaled mutated beast charged forward. It's actually a mutated demonic beast. Dongbu Shuiying knew that the situation was far from good. He immediately moved his body and stabbed forward with lightning speed. Chi! The four-hoofed black-scaled mutated beast did not care about the stab at all. It allowed the stab to pierce through the scales on its chest. Cracks appeared on the scales, but the stab did not completely pierce through. Furthermore, the scales on the surface of the mutated beast's body were stacked on top of each other. It was likely that the stab would have to pierce through 2 or 3 of the scales in order to pierce through its body. The four-hooved black-scaled mutated beast's sharp claws furiously pounced forward. Its 4 hooves were at least 3 meters long and were thick and powerful. The claws on its hooves were as sharp as blades. When both of its front hooves pounced forward at the same time, its might overflowed to the heavens. Dongbu Shuiying hastily scampered away on the ground, cutting a sorry figure. Its strength is even stronger than when it is in its human form. Dongbu Shuiying felt despair. The difference in strength was too great. The defense of the mutated demonic beast Xiang Peng Yuan's scales was extremely high. Even his spear could not pierce through it. How could he fight against it with such strength? If Xiang Peng Yuan's human form was around the top 500 of the Dragon Mountain roll, if not the top 100, he would at least be in the top 200. This was very normal. Demonic beasts were naturally stronger when they were in their true form. After all, the human body was much weaker. The four-hooved black-scaled mutated beast Xiang Peng Yuan pounced forward 3 times at lightning speed. How powerful was the flapping of its scaled wings! If it were to fly, its speed could easily exceed the speed of sound. As a mutated demonic beast that could fly, it naturally did not care about the strong winds around it. Its speed was fast and its body was huge. With just 3 pounces, Dongbu Shuiying was unable to dodge anymore. Peng! Although Dongbu Shuiying's spear was placed horizontally in front of him to block, the claws of the four-hooved black-scaled mutated beast still managed to send Dongbu Shuiying flying backwards. Freeze! Dongbu Shuiying was sent flying horizontally. He hurriedly thrust his spear downwards with all his might. The spear pierced more than a meter deep into the mountain rock. Although a large number of cracks appeared around the rock, Dongbu Shuiying's body, which was flying backwards, came to a halt. Stop struggling, Dongbu Shuiying. The four-hooved black-scaled mutated beast had already arrived in front of Dongbu Shuiying. Chapter 70. High up in the sky, Master Bai Yuanji Qingshi and the others on the back of the Black Moon Centipede were stunned when they saw Xiang Peng Yuan suddenly transform into a gigantic four-hooved, black-scaled exotic beast. It's an exotic beast, a mutated magical beast. A rank 6 exotic magical beast. Si-chan cried out in alarm. Xiang Pengyun actually transformed into a magical beast. Bang bang bang. The four-hoofed, black-scaled exotic beast pounced on Dongbu Shuang 3 times, putting him in a desperate situation. No, don't. Qing Shi burst into tears. Don't. That was his most important family member. Snow Eagle. Zhongling and Tong San were also frantic. Run. Otherwise, after the Lord dies, we will also die. Master Bai Yuanji's expression changed greatly. When he saw the wings on the back of the four-hoofed, black-scaled exotic beast, he felt fear. Because the Black Moon Centipede only moved at half the speed of sound, a rank 4 flying-type magical beast would be able to compete with it. Some of the flying-type magical beasts were even faster. A rank 5 flying-type magical beast would definitely surpass an alchemy creature like the Black Moon Centipede. As for a rank 6 magical beast, Xiang Pengyun's original form was a mutated magical beast. Its speed would probably be even more terrifying. They had to escape as soon as possible. Otherwise, they would all die in front of that terrifying mutated magical beast. Bai Yuanji was very clear that after Xiang Pengyun transformed into his original form, Dongbu Shuang had no power to resist. The time given to them to escape was too short. They had to seize every second they had. Who? The Black Moon Centipede immediately turned and dashed into the distance. Brother. Qing Shi cried as he stared at the Black Wind Cliff in the distance. He prayed for a miracle, praying for his brother to survive. The long spear pierced a meter deep into the mountain rock. Dongbu Shuang's flying body stopped, but the four-hoofed, black-scaled exotic beast pounced at him again. Ha! Dongbu Shuang suddenly exerted his strength and pounced to the side. At the same time, he pulled out the Feishua Divine Spear from the mountain rocks and tried his best to avoid the four-hoofed, black-armored strange beast's attack. The four-hoofed, black-armored beast's blood-red eyes were filled with killing intent. Boom! Its gigantic scaled wings suddenly flapped. Just how large was the range of its wings when they were fully spread out? Its huge body rushed past Shuang in an instant. Shuang dodged the attack of its body, but what followed after was a huge pair of wings. On the surface of the wings, there was still a blood color circulating. Shuang did not have the time to use his spear. With a pung sound, the wings directly slapped on his body. The surging power caused him to be directly sent flying backwards. With this wave, Dongbu Shuang was already out of the Black Wind Cliff's range. As he continued to fly backwards, the huge black wind vortex continued to engulf him. The difference was too great. After Xiang Pengyun returned to his demonic beast form, his strength was completely overwhelming. Furthermore, the wind at the Black Wind Cliff was too strong, and the four-hoofed black-armored strange beast was too huge. It was very difficult to dodge. Ha. The four-hoofed black-armored strange beast flapped its wings and charged out of the Black Wind Cliff, flying into the air. However, with another flap of its wings, it easily stopped in midair. Although the closer one was to the black wind vortex, the stronger the wind was. How strong was the power of the four-hoofed, black-armored strange beast's wings? Furthermore, as a flying demonic beast, it was naturally good at using the wind. With a flap of its wings, its strength was inconceivable. Even in the center of the black wind vortex, it could withstand it and not be swept away, let alone in the distance. The four-hoofed, black-armored strange beast and Dongbu Shuang stared at each other. Dongbu Shuang was swept away and sent flying backwards. The four-hoofed, black-armored strange beast didn't continue to chase, because if it did, it would have to go deeper into the vortex, and the danger level would continue to increase. Naturally, it didn't want to be in danger again. Furthermore, the black wind abyss was enough to kill Dongbu Shuang. Haha, Dongbu Shuang, after you die, I will let your little brother and the others accompany you. You won't be lonely after you die. The four-hoofed, black-armored strange beast flapped its wings and was about to soar into the sky and chase after the Black Moon Centipede. It wanted to kill all the humans on the Black Moon Centipede. Little brother. Time seemed to slow down. Dongbu Shuang's eyes noticed the fleeing Black Moon Centipede in the sky. He could clearly see Uncle Zong and Uncle Tong on the back of the Black Moon Centipede, who were in pain and anxiety. He also saw his little brother, Qing Shi, who was about to break down and rush out of the Black Moon centipede. Uncle Zong and Uncle Tong were tightly holding on to Qingshi, not letting him fall. Big brother, big brother. Qingshi, who was on the back of the Black Moon centipede, completely broke down. He stretched out his hand and looked at Dongbo Shuiying, who was already flying towards the center of the vortex. That was his big brother. Little brother, little stone. Dongbo Shuiying didn't know why, but tears suddenly flowed out. When his parents were still alive, little stone, who liked to hug his legs, said, "Big brother, hug." Big brother, bad guy. After being teased, little stone shouted, "I want to sleep with big brother." That chubby little brat had slept on the same bed as her for several years, and her clothes had been soaked by his saliva countless times. "Big brother, I'll give you half." The greedy little brat was reluctant to give the good food to others, but he was willing to give it to his big brother. The little brat had grown up and started to learn magic. "Brother, I'm already a mage, I'm a mage." The young man cheered. "Qingshi is awesome," said Dongbo Shuiying with a smile. Scenes of his life appeared in his mind. Regardless of whether he was purely mischievous or a little willful, he was still the most important family member in Dongbo Shuiying's life. A family member that he was willing to protect with his life. An incomparably strong will completely penetrated his soul. No one could. No one is allowed to kill my little brother. No way. I Dongbo Shuiying, even if I die. Even if he died, he would crawl out of hell. Eh? Dongbo Shuiying suddenly let out an incomparably angry roar. A roar that came from the depths of his life. At the same time, a short spear appeared in his right hand. At this moment, he was already flying towards the whirlpool, and there was no way for him to get close to the four-hooved, black-armored strange beast. The only way was to rely on the short spear, although the short spear looked like a joke. However, at this moment, Dongbo Shuiying only knew that he had to seize every opportunity. The flames of anger burned in his chest, and endless anger and anxiety filled every part of his body. The flames of anger seemed to be burning his entire body. Boom! Dazzling flames suddenly appeared on the surface of Dongbo Shuiying's body, and flames appeared in the air around him. The short spear in his hand was also surrounded by flames. In the black wind that engulfed the world, how bright and dazzling the red flames were. At this moment he was like a god in the flames. Boom! His body leaned back in midair, and then he suddenly exerted force. The short spear in his hand turned into a flame like a meteor. The four-hooved, black-armored strange beast couldn't help but turn its head to look when Dongbo Shuiying let out an angry roar. Then it saw Dongbo Shuiying's entire body enveloped in flames, and the short spear that was shooting towards it like a meteor. This is... The four-hooved, black-armored strange beast was immediately shocked, and hurriedly tried to block it. Goo! Its claws barely managed to block the attack, but that streak of light still pierced into the four-hooved, black-armored exotic beast's chest. The entire short spear pierced into its body, and the tip of the spear even poked out a little from the back of its neck. Die for me. A second short spear appeared in Dongbo Shuiying's hand, and then a third short spear. Boom! Boom! The second short spear directly pierced through the strange beast's lower abdomen, creating a huge hole. The short spear also pierced deep into its body. As for the third short spear, it directly pierced through the skull of the four-hooved, black-armored exotic beast, piercing right through. Myriad! Myriad! The four-hooved, black-armored strange beast looked at the figure in the flames in disbelief. At this moment, it was incomparably sure that this terrifying human genius had reached perfect unity a long time ago. Realm of myriad existences. When one's skills reached the pinnacle, the next step was to gradually grasp some of the mysteries of myriad existences. It was divided according to the realm. Great Spear Master represented the pinnacle of a mortal's skills. Realm of myriad existences was when a transcendent began to comprehend the nature of myriad existences. This was only the first step in comprehending the nature of myriad existences. However, only transcendents could grasp this realm. Among the legend rankers, in the entire Dragon Mountain Empire, including those legend rankers who were more than 100 years old, there were only about 50 people who could reach this realm. Great Spear Master represented the perfection of one's strength. After that, one would be able to comprehend the nature of myriad existences and learn the mysteries of myriad existences. Dongbu Shuiying's strength had reached perfect unity when he was 15 years old. After that, he built a bamboo house in the back mountain and began to comprehend the nature of myriad existences. His spear skills gradually became more and more restrained, and seemed to carry some natural aura. Actually, this was the process of learning the mysteries of myriad existences. Unity of man and nature only allowed the practitioner to observe the nature of myriad existences more clearly. Before reaching unity of man and nature, one could still feel the nature of myriad existences. However, the feeling was more vague, as if one was looking at it through a thin layer of gauze. However, after 6 years, his spear skills had indeed become more and more natural, especially the qi cultivation method 3-stage flame technique. Every time he absorbed the power of flames into his body, he could clearly feel the mysteries of the power of flames. 6 years of accumulation. At the last moment, the complete explosion of his life force, the explosion of his willpower, the endless anger and desire, allowed him to finally break through the great spear master realm and reach the realm of myriad existences. As the saying goes, myriad existences of myriad existences, Dongbu Shuiying had grasped a bit of the mysteries of myriad existences. However, this was the power of the mysteries of myriad existences, something that only the top 50 of the Dragon Mountain rankings could grasp. This was a power that was enough to kill a pseudo-transcendent. Who? Dongbu Shuiying bathed in flames. The surrounding flames surged, trying to stop the violent wind vortex. However, the power of the flames only had a strength of 10,000 jin. When he threw the short spear, his body was also continuously retreating. Now he was almost at the center of the vortex. The force of the black wind was already a few 100,000 jin. He couldn't withstand it at all. This true peerless genius, who was only 22 years old but was already able to rank in the top 50 of the Dragon Mountain rankings, was destined to fall after emitting a dazzling light. Qingshi. Dongbu Shuiying looked at the black moon centipede that was fleeing in panic in the sky. A smile of relief appeared on his face. Enough. Enough. It was enough that his younger brother survived. Who? The violent wind swept past. Dongbu Shuiying continued falling. He still raised his head and smiled at the black moon centipede in the sky. He looked at the family on the centipede's back that he was willing to protect with his life. Chapter 71. As the black moon centipede fled in panic, Great Mage Bai Yuanji nervously looked at the mutated beast below. Suddenly he was stunned. Zhongling, Tongsan, Qingshi, Kongyu Jirong and Sichan were all stunned. Because, when Xiang Pengyun transformed into a mutated beast and knocked Dongbu Shuiying off the Black Wind Cliff, Dongbu Shuiying was involuntarily sucked into the whirlpool of wind. Suddenly, Dongbu Shuiying let out a roar that shook the heavens and earth. His body leaned back and a short spear appeared in his right hand. His entire body burst into flames and dazzling flames appeared around him. The huge flame spread out like a beautiful fire lotus. Dongbu Shuiying was like a flame god. He threw the short spear. It turned into a meteor. 1 spear, 2 spears, 3 spears. The demonic beast was unable to block any of the short spears. Each spear pierced through its vitals and killed it on the spot. Its powerful wings also softened, and its huge body no longer resisted the force of the wind. It was also sent flying into the black wind vortex. It's dead. The mutated beast is dead. Great Mage Bai Yuanji was overjoyed and shocked at the same time. Quick, go save Snow Eagle, quick. Zhongling had been on the brink of death many times and knew that time couldn't be wasted. His reaction was the fastest. Qingshi immediately reacted and shouted, quick, save my brother. Teacher, quick, save my brother. Oh. Bai Yuanji immediately reacted. Whoosh. He controlled the black moon centipede and immediately turned in an arc. Then, he immediately dove down at half the speed of sound. Although the distance was more than 1,000 meters, it could easily close the distance. However, Dongbu Shuiying was already sucked into the center of the whirlpool of wind and was sucked down. It's too late. Bai Yuanji shook his head. Even if it's too late, the black moon centipede won't dare to get too close. At this time he didn't say that everyone knew it was too late. They just wanted to try their best. Dongbu Shuiying, is he going to die? Kong Yu's thoughts were complicated. She had never thought that Dongbu Shuiying would be this powerful. Even after Xiang Pangyun had revealed his demonic beast form, he was still killed by him. Ji Rong's eyes lit up. There was a trace of fanaticism in her eyes. He is going to die. It's good that he died, it's good that he died. He was the only one who stopped me from being together with Qing Shi. Now that he's dead, I believe that it won't be long before Qing Shi and I are together again. The treasure left behind by such a peerless expert. I will definitely obtain it and offer it to the Almighty God. He looked at the black moon centipede that was swooping down. Little brother. Dongbu Shuang glanced at the huge corpse of the four-hooved, black-armored beast. With a thought, an iron hook appeared in his hand, and he immediately flung it out. Phew! How powerful was his strength! Even in the black wind whirlpool, the iron hook turned into a blur as it flew out. It quickly wrapped around the corpse of the four-hooved, black-armored beast and wrapped around its neck twice. This rope was left behind from the storage ring of that Lord God emissary. It was extremely tough. With a sudden tug, the huge corpse of the four-hooved, black-armored beast quickly descended. At the same time, Dongbu Shuang rose up. Whoosh! He instantly landed on the corpse of the beast. Standing on the corpse of the four-hooved, black-armored beast, Dongbu Shuang felt the surrounding wind. Then he suddenly exerted force with his legs. His entire body was bathed in flames. Boom! He soared into the sky. However, the black wind whirlpool was too powerful. Dongbu Shuang's speed was greatly reduced. Even with the help of the flames, he only managed to jump 50 meters before he began to descend. The black moon centipede swooped down at high speed. It only flew a few hundred meters before it stopped. It didn't dare to approach the black wind whirlpool. Get closer, Qing Shi said anxiously. I can't get closer. The wind is too strong. If you get any closer, my black moon centipede won't be able to withstand it. Bai Yuanji said. The surrounding winds were howling, and the black moon centipede was already having a hard time dealing with them. If they were to get any closer, the black moon centipede would not be able to escape from the winds and would be swept away. Qing Shi, Zhongling, and the others on the centipede's back anxiously looked at the black wind whirlpool in the distance. Phew! In the center of the whirlpool, the four-hooved, mutated beast's corpse suddenly sank. At the same time, a flaming figure soared into the sky. It was surrounded by a sea of red flames, trying its best to weaken the power of the wind. Brother! Qing Shi shouted with tears streaming down his face. Snow Eagle! Zhongling and Tong San were also anxious, but they couldn't do anything to help. Bathed in flames, Dongbu Shuang raised his head and looked at Qing Shi, Zhongling, Tong San, and the others on the back of the black moon centipede. His body had already begun to descend uncontrollably. Qing Shi, live well and don't disappoint me. Dongbu Shuang's vigorous voice resounded through heaven and earth. He was still most worried about his younger brother. He was afraid that if he died, his younger brother would collapse and not be able to recover. This was something he didn't want to see. Ha ha ha, don't worry. Dongbu Shuang won't die so easily. Even if I fall into the black wind abyss, I will come out alive. Dongbu Shuang's voice was full of fighting spirit and confidence. He glanced at the others on the back of the black moon centipede and suddenly saw Ji Rong. He couldn't help but be shocked. This Ji Rong was suspected by the Dragon Mountain Manor to be a follower of the evil god. Now, she actually ran to the back of the black moon centipede to be close to his younger brother? Qing Shi, remember this. Don't be together with this Ji Rong. Master Bai Yuanji, tell her to get out of Snowrock Mountain tomorrow. Don't let her take a single step into Snowrock Mountain. Dongbu Shuang said firmly. Ji Rong, who was on the centipede's back, was stunned. Qing Shi's brother didn't even give her a chance. Lord, don't worry. Venerable Bai Yuanji immediately agreed. Facing such a hero, such an amazing person, he was filled with respect and admiration. Haha, thanks. Dongbu Shuang was still full of pride. When I return from the Black Wind Abyss, I will definitely have a drink with you. This old man will be waiting. Bai Yuanji said loudly. While they were talking, Dongbu Shuang's body continued to descend. Within the black wind vortex, the flame figure gradually became more and more blurred. As he descended, he looked at his younger brother Qing Shi with a smile on his face. The wind was still whistling. There was no other sound in the world. The black-clothed youth in the flame had completely fallen into the depths of the black wind vortex and could no longer be seen. Qing Shi's body was trembling. He stretched out his hand wanting to grab something. The figure of his brother in the flame seemed to still be in front of him. Why? Qing Shi's emotions completely collapsed. Pain and sorrow drowned him like a tide. He had never tasted such pain before. It was as if his life was being torn apart. Brother! Qing Shi let out a mournful cry. Come back, come back, come back. I will definitely listen to you, definitely listen to you. I won't scold you anymore. I won't be angry with you anymore. Come back, come back. Zhongling and Tong San hugged Qing Shi on both sides, both of them also crying. After more than 20 years together. To them, Dongbo Shuiying was like their own child. How could they not be sad? It was just that they had experienced more life and death situations, so they didn't break down. Snow Eagle, don't worry, Tong San and I will definitely take good care of Qing Shi. Zhongling secretly said. Tong San hugged Qing Shi. Qing Shi, your brother's talent is unparalleled. His strength is far beyond our imagination. Even if he fell into the black wind abyss, he will definitely come back alive, definitely. Master Bai Yuanji and Master Sichun at the side. They all knew that Dongbo Shuiying said that he would definitely come back. It was only to give his younger brother some hope, so that he wouldn't do something stupid. Amazing! Bai Yuanji sighed. Only 22 years old, that Xiang Pangyun was still killed by Dongbo Shuiying even though he revealed his true form as a demonic beast. In the end, he was even able to control the flames between heaven and earth. This is already the realm of myriad existences, right? The legendary realm of myriad existences, in the entire vast Dragon Mountain Empire, including those over 100 years old guys, there are less than 50 people who have reached this realm. Master Sichun also sighed. Once one reaches this realm, they will definitely enter the top 50. Even if my family's ancestors were to face the current Dongbo Shuiying, they wouldn't even have the strength to fight back. Just like Xiang Pangyun who revealed his true form, although his strength increased greatly, he was still directly killed by the short spear. This kind of strength is already enough to kill a pseudo-transcendent. Master Bai Yuanji sighed. This kind of genius in the entire Dragon Mountain Empire, there will only be one every 100 years. Master Sichun didn't have the slightest intention to compare himself with Dongbo Shuiying. Only admiration and regret. Although it was rare to reach the realm of one with the world at the age of 22, there were still more than 10 people in Dragon Mountain Empire. But to reach the realm of myriad existences at the age of 22. Indeed, it was hard to find one every 1 or 200 years, a true genius. Such a peerless talent, just as he revealed his talent, he fell. Master Bai Yuanji sighed. What a pity, what a pity. That's right, if he was still alive, he would definitely become a transcendent in the future. Master Sichun also shook his head. The two of them fought and chased for over 100 li. With such a huge commotion, I believe that Dragon Mountain Manor will quickly come to find us, once the news of this battle spreads. Dongbo Shuiying will probably become truly famous, but unfortunately, it's already too late. Bai Yuanji nodded. Once the news of this battle spread, one could imagine the commotion it would cause. Originally, Dongbo Shuiying should have received endless glory, or even directly walked to a higher position in the entire Dragon Mountain Empire, but he would never be able to enjoy that kind of glory again. Black Wind Abyss. The violent wind whistled. The further down he went, the stronger the wind became. Dongbo Shuiying's surroundings were filled with flames. He controlled the energy of heaven and earth to transform it into flames, doing his best to obstruct and slow down as much as possible. However, he continued to increase his speed. It's too fast, my speed has already surpassed the speed of sound, if I continue to increase my speed. If I really fall to the bottom of Black Wind Abyss, I'm afraid I'll really fall to my death. Dongbo Shuiying was anxious. Suddenly, he saw the four-hoofed black-scaled mutated beast's corpse below him. That mutated beast's body was bigger, and it had 2 huge wings. Obviously, when falling, the resistance of the wings was greater. Its falling speed was not as fast as Dongbo Shuiying's, allowing Dongbo Shuiying to catch up. Dongbo Shuiying's heart stirred. Immediately the flames of heaven and earth spread out, wrapping around the four-hoofed mutated beast's corpse, doing his best to slow it down. As for himself, not only did he not rely on the flames to slow down, He actually increased his speed. Who? Very quickly, Dongbu Shuiying landed on the four-hoofed mutated beast's corpse. He sensed a bit and found a storage bracelet in between the scales of the beast's chest. He quickly took it and sensed it. There were many treasures in the storage bracelet. Even food, a small pile of gold notes, jewels, gold coins, and so on. Nothing. Dongbu Shuiying wanted to find something that could help him during his fall, but he did not find anything. Obviously, under normal circumstances, it was impossible for a legend ranker to fall to his death. Whether it was Xiang Pangyun or that Lord Divine Envoy, they did not prepare anything that could help reduce the impact of the fall. Dongbu Shuiying's gaze landed on the four-hoofed mutated beast's corpse. This mutated beast's scales are incomparably hard, and its body is even harder than the mountain rocks and soil. The effect of reducing impact is very low. Dongbu Shuiying flipped his hand, and Feishua godly spear appeared in his hand. The tip of the spear was flat and sharp, and shua, it rapidly cut off the four-hoofed mutated beast's wings. The scaled wings no longer had the blood-colored light, and its defensive power had decreased. That blood-colored light was actually the manifestation of the primordial bloodline of this four-hoofed mutated beast. Very quickly, one of the scaled wings was cut off. This scaled wing was more than 10 meters long and extremely wide, but its actual weight was ordinary. Clearly, there was a hollow structure inside. Pooh! Pooh! Boo! Boo! Dongbu Shuiying immediately pierced through some of the scales on the wing, allowing his hands to grab the supporting bones of the wing. Whether I live or die, it all depends on this gamble. Dongbu Shuiying put away the Feishua godly spear, and used both hands to grab onto the tough bones of the scales. Just like that, the gigantic scaled wings were propped up by him. Who? The gigantic wings that were more than 10 meters long and more than 5 meters wide were propped up like that. One had to know that the speed of his descent had exceeded the speed of sound, even though the surrounding winds were constantly pulling him downwards. But at supersonic speeds, when the gigantic wings were propped up, the force of the air currents immediately caused Dongbu Shuiying's speed to decrease sharply, separating him from the four-hoofed mutated beast's corpse below. With both hands propping up the gigantic scaled wings, and the surrounding flames, although his speed had decreased, the further he descended, the stronger the wind became, causing his speed to exceed the speed of sound. Furthermore, the wind was still spinning, causing Dongbu Shuiying to occasionally be flipped and tumbled by the wind. Then, with great difficulty, he propped up his wings again. He was struggling, trying his best to find a way to survive. How deep is this black wind abyss? I feel like I've already descended 7,000 to 8,000 meters. Dongbu Shuiying spun and flipped as he plummeted rapidly. Dongbu Shuiying looked through the black winds and saw a gigantic black creature entrenched on a mountain wall about a kilometer away. That blurry black creature looked a little like a gigantic dragon, but its body was more than 1,000 meters long. This length had already exceeded the length of a typical gigantic dragon. The gigantic black creature's golden eyes swept over him. Dongbu Shuiying felt his soul tremble. With such a difference, it was as if the creature could destroy him with a single breath. At this moment, Dongbu Shuiying understood why all those below the Transcendence Realm who came here to explore were doomed to die. Who? He fell very quickly, and in an instant, he could no longer see the gigantic black creature. He continued to fall deeper and darker. End of volume. The curtains of the novel are gradually opening. I'll have to trouble everyone to spend a few seconds to vote for me. Thank you very much. Chapter 72. As he was descending, he could occasionally see some black figures through the black wind. Some of them were huge, while some of them had the appearance of a normal human. The invisible pressure they exuded varied in strength. The stronger ones could kill him with a single glance if they wanted to. The weaker ones had the strength of a transcendent. This made Dongbu Shuiying even more nervous. When he was descending, he said that he would definitely return. On one hand, it was for the sake of his younger brother, and on the other hand, he felt that he could give it a try. But now he understood how difficult it was to get out of this place alive. Forget it, I can only take it one step at a time. Dongbu Shuiying was determined. Now I have to think of a way to stay alive when I descend. Grabbing the skeleton of the gigantic scaled wings with both hands, he pushed them open. The direction of the wind kept changing. Dong Shuang tried his best to increase the resistance of the scaled wings, so that he could slow down even more. But it's still too fast. Too fast. Dong Shuang's falling speed was still increasing. At this speed, I might fall to my death. Dong Shuang's expression changed abruptly. He could clearly see the ground below him. I'm almost there. Dong Shuang's heart was in his throat. No matter how dangerous the black wind abyss was, if he fell to his death while descending, he would not even have the chance to struggle. Boom! Suddenly, when he was about 100 meters above the ground, the wind suddenly disappeared. It was as if there was a strange barrier. There was no wind at the height of 100 meters above the ground, but 100 meters above the ground, the wind was so strong that it covered the entire sky. Dong Shuang tore through the air and descended with a sonic boom. As soon as he entered the 100-meter range, in a situation where there was no wind at all, the resistance of the gigantic scaled wings abruptly increased. Dong Shuang could feel his arms trembling. Fortunately, his body was strong, and he was able to maintain his strength at such a crucial moment, allowing him to withstand the impact. In the distance of 100 meters, Dong Shuang's speed was decreasing rapidly. But after all, it was only a distance of 100 meters. His falling speed was too fast. In the blink of an eye, he smashed into the rocks on the ground. Although his speed had been reduced by half, it still surpassed the speed of sound. He directly smashed a huge hole in the rocks. Boom! His feet landed on the ground first, followed by his whole body. The rocks were as soft as water. Simply put, with Dong Shuang's terrifying physique, the mountain rocks were indeed very fragile in front of him. When Dong Shuang fell on the mountain rock, it was like a normal person jumping into the water. However, when the speed was fast enough and the height was high enough, even the surface of the water could kill a person. Phew! When he fell, he was stunned. The huge impact caused his bones to crack, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. I'm injured. The bones in my left arm are broken, and 3 of my ribs are broken as well. The most troublesome thing is that my internal organs are injured as well. Ying's control over his body was very precise. He was glad that the last 100 meters had allowed him to decelerate. His speed had been reduced by half. Otherwise, even with his scaled wings, he would still fall to his death. My injuries are more severe now, and my internal organs have been damaged. I'm unable to withstand too much damage. Dong Shuang immediately understood. I need to find a place to recover from my injuries as soon as possible. With my body's regenerative ability, I should be able to fully recover in 6 hours. His skin and flesh recovered the fastest, followed by his bones and finally his internal organs. Regardless, Dong Shuang was still happy. At the very least, he managed to survive the fall. Following that, Shuang rapidly and abruptly leapt upwards to the surface. Using his hands as a support, he lowered his body and looked into the distance. He first saw the remains of the 4-hoofed black-armored corpse in front of him. After that fall, its body had long since been completely smashed, and only a part of it could be seen. At the same time, a black-armored soldier appeared in the distance. It was flying towards him with a speed as fast as a shadow. Not good, I've been discovered. Dong Shuang did not dare to hesitate as he immediately fled. So. Shuang quickly retreated, but soon after he felt puzzled and stopped. He hid behind a huge rock 1 kilometer away, peeking into the distance. At this moment, the black-armored soldier had already reached the huge pit where Shuang had fallen. Shuang's eyesight was frightening. With a single glance, he discovered that beneath the black-armored soldier's armor, his body was actually condensed from a black fog. Even the pair of eyes revealed by the mask on his face was faintly glowing red. It's not a human, nor is it a demonic beast. Seems like it's not a living being? Dong Shuang speculated doubtfully. I thought that it had discovered me and was chasing after me. Logically speaking, a normal legend ranker should have been able to see me with a single look from that distance. But it only followed the sound of the fall and looked at the pit. It did not discover me. Seems like its eyes are only average. Or perhaps it doesn't rely on its eyes. Dong Shuang made all sorts of conjectures. But even so, judging from the speed of the black-armored soldier, it was impossible for it to escape. In terms of speed, The black armored soldier had completely surpassed Xiang Pangyun. Let's find a place to recuperate first. Dongwu Shuiying observed his surroundings. Very quickly he discovered a small cave on the side of the mountain. When the black armored soldier turned around and left, Dongwu Shuiying leaped 50 meters into the small cave. He had used the heaven and earth energy to sense the small cave, but there was nothing else inside. Standing at the edge of the small cave, he carefully looked towards the direction where the black armored soldier had come from. The higher he stood, the farther he could see. That is, Dongwu Shuiying was slightly shocked. About 50 to 60 kilometers away, there was a cave palace that was emitting a faint green light. Outside the cave palace, there was a large number of black armored soldiers patrolling the area. These black armored soldiers did not seem to know fatigue and were constantly patrolling the area. Apart from the black armored soldiers, there were also other black creatures that were smaller in number, but they gave off an oppressive feeling. Regardless of whether it was the black dragon-like creature that occupied the top of the mountain, or the other black creatures, including the weakest black armored soldier, Dongwu Shuiying nodded his head. It seems like they are all protecting the cave palace. If I were to approach them, I would probably be killed easily. Dongwu Shuiying muttered to himself. Forget it, let's recuperate first. Dongwu Shuiying retreated back into the cave and casually sat down cross-legged. With a flip of his hand, he took out a huge piece of meat. With a thought, a flame appeared and he started roasting it. This piece of meat was from Xiang Pangyun's storage treasure. In fact, regardless of whether it was Xiang Pangyun or the god's emissary, they had stored a large amount of food and water in their storage treasures. This caused Dongwu Shuiying to mutter to himself. Perhaps most legend rankers would bring food and water with them? As for the smell of the barbecue, Dongwu Shuiying was not worried about it. He was able to control the heaven and earth energy, completely isolating the smell within the cave. And it smells so good. This Xiang Pangyun seems to be a glutton. Dongwu Shuiying started to chomp down on the meat. Under his control, the broken bones in his body started to reconnect and reconnect. His internal organs were also gradually recovering. This night was long. Zhongling and Tong San were still able to control their emotions, but Qing Shi was on the verge of collapsing. My brother will definitely come back. He will definitely come back. I will not leave, I will not leave. I will wait for him at the bottom of the Black Wind Cliff. I will wait here. At first, Qing Shi refused to leave. It was Zhongling who persuaded him. Qing Shi, the Black Wind Abyss is so big. When the Snow Eagle comes out, he might come out from somewhere else. Once he comes out, he will definitely go straight to Snowrock Castle. If you wait at the bottom of the mountain, I'm afraid you will miss him. Qing Shi was finally convinced. The Black Moon Centipede flew back to Snowrock Castle. In the middle of the night, a cavalry unit arrived at Snowrock Castle. The leader was Lord Xian of Dragon Mountain Manor. The battle between Xiang Pangyun and Dongwu Shuiying. How shocking was this news? The spies that Dragon Mountain Manor had arranged quickly spread the news to Dragon Mountain Manor in Waterrights Town. Lord Xian was also shocked. He did not even bother to sleep and immediately rushed over. Rumble. The drawbridge was lowered and the city gates opened. Lord Xi and Zhongling personally came out to greet him. How is it? Where is Dongwu Shuiying? And where is Xiang Pangyun? Lord Xian asked. Chapter 73. Lord Xian, let's talk as we walk. Although Zhongling felt uncomfortable, he still maintained basic etiquette. Xiang Pangyun came to kill Dongwu Shuiying? Lord Xian and Zhongling walked side by side and couldn't help but ask at the same time. This matter was too important. Zhongling nodded. A group of killers came to kill Qing Shi because of the Bloodshed Tavern's mission. These killers were killed by Snow Eagle, and at this time Xiang Pangyun appeared and fought with Snow Eagle. They fought all the way from Snowrock Mountain to Black Wind Cliff. Black Wind Cliff? Xian was shocked. As the head of the Dragon Mountain Manor in a small county, he naturally knew the terrible danger zone in his territory. They actually chased and killed for hundreds of miles? Xian was shocked. He couldn't believe it. To be able to fight to this extent, it was obvious that the gap between the two sides was not too big. Dongwu Shuiying's strength should be at least in the top 1,000 of the Dragon Mountain list. Otherwise, how could he struggle for so long? He still couldn't believe it. How old was Dongbo Shuiying? He was too much of a genius. What was the result? Xian asked. Zhongling looked at the night sky and was silent for a moment before saying, Snow Eagle can't die. But I didn't expect that Xiang Pengyun is not a human, but a magical beast. A magical beast that can transform into a human? Xian's face changed. Sorcerer Temple. What Sorcerer Temple? Zhongling asked. You don't have to worry about this. Xian said. The rulers of this world were those powerful transcendents. There were many secrets that were not made public. As the Tower Master of the Dragon Mountain Manor, he was qualified to know some of these secrets. He was very clear that the Sorcerer God's palace had been able to fight against the entire human race since ancient times. The Sorcerer Temple had always sent magical beasts to infiltrate the human race. Fortunately, the cost of transforming a magical beast into a human was very high, so everything was still under control. What happened next? Lord Xian asked. Xiang Pengyun exposed himself and killed Dongbo Shuiying? No. Zhongling continued. The Snow Eagle was sent flying out of Black Wind Cliff and was about to be swept into Black Wind Abyss. At this moment, Shuiying threw out the short spear in midair. His entire body suddenly burst into flames, and the short spear turned into a meteor, instantly piercing into the body of the four-hoofed beast that Xiang Pengyun had transformed into. 3 short spears in a row, each one piercing into his vitals. The four-hoofed beast died on the spot. Fire? Killed by a short spear? Lord Xian was stunned. Myriad existences? All things transform. Snow Eagle has indeed grasped some of the profound mysteries of the fire laws of all things. Zhongling sighed. He was also a meteor rank expert, and had a detailed understanding of the Dragon Mountain list. He knew what the realm of myriad existences represented. He's only 22 years old? Realm of myriad existences? Lord Xian was stunned. This caused a huge commotion. Such a peerless monster might only appear once every 100 years in the entire Dragon Mountain Empire. It was almost certain that he would become a transcendent. It can't be false, right? Lord Xian asked because he knew that once this news was reported, it would certainly alarm the transcendents. Because the birth of a transcendent was not easy, and the number of transcendents in the entire empire was limited. How could it be false? If Snow Eagle hadn't killed that four-hoofed beast, do you think we could still calmly stay in Snowrock Castle? Zhongling said, if you don't believe me, you can go ask Master Bai Yuanji and Master Sichan. I'll definitely ask them again. Lord Xian nodded. He also believed that these people wouldn't dare to lie, because soon a transcendent would personally come. In front of a transcendent, mortals would be very honest, and tell them everything. What about Dongbo Shuiying? Lord Xian continued to ask. Zhongling's eyes had a trace of sadness, but his voice was calm. He couldn't resist the power of the Black Wind Whirlpool, and was swept into the Black Wind Abyss. Lord Xian was silent. When Dongbo Shuiying was 15, Lord Xian got to know Dongbo Shuiying. He could clearly remember that black-clothed teenager. At that time there was a kind of sharpness in his bones. At that time he felt that Dongbo Shuiying would become an extraordinary person in the future. Only 6 years had passed, and the black-clothed teenager had grown taller. Although his aura was restrained, it was like a mountain that people couldn't shake. At this time, Lord Xian had received information from his superiors that Dongbo Shuiying was a legend ranker. But what was the truth? He became even more dazzling and fought with Xiang Pengyun. Finally, in a life-and-death situation, he revealed his true body and killed Xiang Pengyun with a short spear. At the age of 22, he had entered the top 50 of the Dragon Mountain list. So dazzling! So dazzling! He was almost destined to become a transcendent, but he had fallen. What a pity, what a pity! Lord Xian gently shook his head. He also felt that it was a pity. He was a core member of the Dragon Mountain Manor, so he understood what it meant to become a transcendent. It was a completely different level of life. No matter how powerful a legend ranker was, he was still a mortal. Between a transcendent and a transcendent, there was a huge gap. Of course, a pseudo-transcendent was not included. With a talent like Dongbo Shuiying, as long as he was alive, he was almost destined to become a transcendent, a true transcendent. Then I won't bother you anymore. Lord Xian said. I still have to ask Bai Yuanji and the others. I'm afraid that our water rights town will be very lively these days. I'll send the Lord off. Zhongling sent Lord Xian out of the castle gate. He watched as Lord Xian and the others quickly rushed towards the great mage building. Zhongling saw a figure standing not far away. It was a petite girl named Jirong. Jirong stood there, looking delicate and lovely. You still haven't left? Zhongling's face turned ugly as he coldly scolded. I want to see Qing Shi, Jirong said. Zhongling coldly snorted and turned to leave. Before falling into the black wind abyss, Dongbu Shuiying's last request was for his brother to leave Jirong. Zhongling would definitely stand on Dongbu Shuiying's side. Naturally, he didn't like Jirong. Castle study room. Qing Shi sat on his brother's usual seat, gently stroking the desk. He recalled the scenes of him growing up with his brother. His brother's love and care for him surpassed everything else. When he was young, his brother went to the mountain range of desolation regardless of the danger. He couldn't forget his brother's words. Unless I Dongbu Shuiying die, no one can hurt my brother. Not even you Xiang Pengyun. At that time Dongbu Shuiying held his spear and stood in front of Xiang Pengyun. These words still echoed in his ears. Qing Shi, live well, don't let me down. As Dongbu Shuiying fell into the black wind whirlpool, he was still looking at him. Pa! Pa! The teardrop fell onto the desk and broke into pieces. When he lost her, it was too late for regrets. Brother, I believe you will come back. I will wait for you, I will wait for you. Qing Shi whispered, don't worry, I won't let you down. I'm Dongbu Shuiying's little brother, and my elder brother is the most outstanding genius under the heavens. I definitely won't let you down. Dong dong dong. Someone knocked on the door. Qing Shi. Zhongling's voice came from outside. That Jirong is still outside the castle. She wants to see you. Qing Shi stood up and opened the study room door. Zhongling was outside. Let's go. Qing Shi was very calm. Zhongling nodded. He had watched Qing Shi grow up. He knew that although Qing Shi was simple, he was a good kid. He believed in Qing Shi. That was why he came to tell Qing Shi to put an end to this. On the castle wall, Qing Shi stood on top of the city wall and looked down. Below him stood a lonely figure, Jirong. Qing Shi. Jirong looked up. Her eyes were filled with pain. What my brother said to me, is it true? Qing Shi's voice was cold. Jirong said, no, it's not true. I will ask again, is it true or not? Qing Shi looked down, his eyes were like blades, staring into Jirong's eyes. Being stared at like this, Jirong hesitated for a moment and said, Qing Shi, you don't believe me? Do you think I will believe you? Haha. Because of you I made my brother sad. Haha, how stupid am I? How funny. Haha. Qing Shi laughed crazily. Zhongling silently watched from the side. He knew that it was time for Qing Shi to vent. Scram. Qing Shi said coldly, my brother said that you must leave Snowrock Mountain tomorrow morning. From now on, you are forbidden from taking a step into Snowrock Mountain. Qing Shi, you really want? Jirong's eyes were filled with tears. Listen to my orders. Qing Shi directly ordered, tomorrow afternoon, if Miss Jirong is still in Snowrock Mountain, throw her down the mountain. Yes. All the patrolling soldiers and the guards below responded. Qing Shi then turned around and left. Qing Shi, Jirong shouted, but could only watch as Qing Shi left the city wall. She could no longer see him. Jirong's face was ugly. Her heart was filled with anger and unwillingness. Dongbu Shuiying, damn it. You are about to die. Yet you still want to ruin my good fortune. That night, Lord Xian quickly reported the news, and it was delivered to the Dragon Mountain Manor headquarters in the Tranquil Sun Province overnight. The Manor Lord did not dare to delay and immediately reported the news to the Tranquil Sun Province. At the same time, Master Sichun also sent the news back. The Sea Clan could cover the sky with one hand in Azure River County. Such an important news, of course, had to be reported to Ancestor Si Lianghong as soon as possible. The extraordinary night was finally over. The next day the sun rose. Black Wind Abyss. Who? Dongbu Shuiying, who had been meditating for the whole night, opened his eyes. The injuries on his body had completely healed. He got up and walked to the entrance of the cave. Now it was dawn. Although the black wind vortex was blocking the sun in the sky, the whole valley was still brightly lit. and some plants and flowers could be seen. Compared to the valley bottom in the night, the valley bottom now was as beautiful as a fairyland. The mountain walls were mottled with moss, and the towering cave palace in the distance was emitting a faint green light. During the day, the palace emitted a faint green light. The light circulated, bringing with it an endless mystery. It's a pity that once I get close I will be killed, Dongbu Shuang thought. That god's envoy and Xiang Pengyun left behind a lot of food and water in the storage treasure. Now that I can absorb the energy of heaven and earth, I don't need much food. But I'm afraid I can only maintain this for a year. If I can't find a way out, I can only starve to death. Although it's dangerous, I must find a way out. Dongbu Shuang carefully observed the outside and pondered. Chapter 74. Hiding in the cave like a tortoise would only result in starvation. Since he had decided to search for a way out, that very morning Dongbu Shuang quietly leapt into the cave and began to investigate. South Dongbu Shuang was agile, and with the assistance of the heaven and earth energy, every move he made was silent. I cannot get close to that mysterious cave palace. The security there is too tight. Even the weakest black-armored soldier would have a hard time dealing with it. Dongbu Shuang thought. The black-armored soldiers seemed to be stronger than Xiang Pengyun. Of course, now that he had reached the realm of myriad existences, his strength had increased to an extremely high level, allowing him to easily kill Xiang Pengyun. However, if he were to fight against the black-armored soldiers, victory or defeat was still uncertain. Even the weakest would not have the confidence to win, let alone the stronger guards. So. Silently, he turned his back on the cave palace and carefully explored the other areas of the Black Wind Abyss Valley. The Black Wind Abyss Valley was extremely vast. The widest part was over 10 li, and the narrowest part was 7 to 8 li. These are all weeds and moss. I don't know how many tens of thousands of years have passed since anyone came here. Dongbu Shuang walked and observed. Suddenly he saw a huge crack in the ground in front of him. There were 2 cracks that intersected with each other. One of the cracks was about 3 to 4 meters wide, and the other one extended to an extremely far distance. Judging from the looks of it, the length of the crack was at least 20 to 30 li. The other crack was only 1 to 2 meters wide, and its length was only 5 to 6 li. However, the end of the crack extended to the walls of the valley, tearing out a huge wound. The wound was at least 100 meters deep, and it extended all the way to the black wind layer. These 2 cracks. Dongbu Shuang felt his heart palpitate. After all, he had reached the realm of myriad existences. He could clearly feel the terrifying baleful qi within the 2 cracks. It was cleaved open by a weapon. These 2 cracks were cleaved open by a weapon. Dongbu Shuang was instantly certain. He hurriedly walked to the side of the crack and looked down. With a single glance, the crack on the ground was pitch black and bottomless, but it was obvious that it was getting wider and wider. And it came from the depths of the earth. Dongbu Shuang immediately came to a conclusion based on the traces. The power of the attack is boundless, and it pierced through the ground all the way to the surface of the valley, leaving behind a 20 to 30 miles long crack on the ground. The moment he came to this conclusion, Dongbu Shuang's face turned pale. Oh my god! This was an attack that had been launched from underground. Just the remnant power of the attack had caused the ground to crack for 20 to 30 kilometers. Just how terrifying was this power? In other words, those towering mountains that were thousands of meters tall would probably be cleaved in half with a wave of a hand by such an expert. Even if it was a human city, it would probably be completely destroyed in a single strike. This kind of strength was simply unimaginable. He and Xiang Pengyun had fought on the peak of Snowrock Mountain for so long, but they had only destroyed some big rocks, trees, and rocks at the edge of the cliff. The entire peak of Snowrock Mountain remained unscathed. From this, one could see the gap between them. With his current strength compared to such an expert, it was impossible. It was like comparing an ant to a dragon. Could this be the traces left behind by a transcendent? Dongbu Shuang pondered. No wonder in the legends, some powerful transcendents could drink wine with the gods, and even the gods feared them. With his and Xiang Pengyun's strength, they were far from being worthy of the attention of the gods. Pseudo-transcendents were not even worth mentioning. A true transcendent is this strong? Dongbu Shuiying did not dare to believe it. His understanding of transcendence was too little. Most of his knowledge was from the legends. For example, the mystic ice spear technique had a very brief description, and only mentioned some methods to become a transcendent. As for what would happen after becoming a transcendent, it did not mention anything. What would happen after becoming a transcendent? He did not know. Because there were too few transcendents, it was very difficult for mortals to meet one. The moment a transcendent appeared in a place, places like Dragon Mountain Manor would immediately warn the surrounding families, telling them to hide their heads and not to offend a transcendent. If they did, their entire family would be finished. Even the Sea family, even the Mo Yang family, which had a pseudo-transcendent, in front of a true transcendent they would tremble with fear. With this kind of strength, even among transcendents, he should be standing at an extremely high position, Dongbu Shuiying thought. Just as Shuiying was carefully observing this crack and experiencing the frightening sharpness and killing intent within, black fog began to appear in almost every corner of the Black Wind Abyss Valley. Every 5 kilometers, this black fog rapidly condensed into a black armored soldier. Similarly, about 5 to 6 miles away from Dongbu Shuiying, the black fog condensed into a black armored soldier. The black armored soldier wore a mask, and his eyes glowed red as he casually scanned his surroundings. Every day, the entire bottom of the valley had to be swept once. This was the rule set by the owner of the cave palace. Although the owner of the cave palace had been dead for a very, very long time, and tens of thousands of years had passed, this place had always been maintained and had never changed. Outsider. The moment the black armored soldier appeared, there was always a layer of red light in his eyes, blurring his vision of the outside world. However, he was still able to see Dongbu Shuiying, who was standing in the distance. Xiao. The black armored soldier landed on the ground and turned into a ray of light as he charged towards Dongbu Shuiying. Dongbu Shuiying observed the crack, and at the same time he spread the heaven and earth energy around him. He was also vigilant towards the direction of the cave palace. If there was any movement, he would immediately flee like a bird startled by the mere twang of a bowstring. Dongbu Shuiying's ears twitched, and he turned his head abruptly. Behind him, a black armored soldier was flying towards him. It was less than a mile away from him. A distance of 300 to 400 meters was nothing for people at their level. Why would a black armored soldier suddenly appear? Dongbu Shuiying was shocked. I knew there would be something strange about a transcendence place. I've already been very careful. It was already too late to hide now. I have to kill it as soon as possible. The commotion caused by the battle is huge, and if time drags on, more black armored soldiers and even stronger guards would appear. The Feishue God spear appeared in Dongbu Shuiying's hands. He stood at his original position and watched as the black armored soldier charged towards him. Boom! The spear suddenly pierced out. It was like a flaming meteor. Hoo hoo hoo. A series of flaming spear shadows pierced towards the black armored soldier. The black armored soldier held a black saber in his hand. Ding ding. In the blink of an eye, the black armored soldier's entire body was covered in black fog. Even his arms were covered in black fog, and his movements were unpredictable. So fast. Without any hesitation, Dongbu Shuiying changed his spear technique, from speed to strength. Boom! The spear that was originally piercing out furiously suddenly changed into a sideways sweep. All the strength in his body burst forth, and his power bloodline was activated. The spear was imbued with the might of flames, and as it swept out in a huge arc, the power accumulated continuously. The black armored soldier coldly blocked with his saber. A loud sound rang out. The black armored soldier's body trembled violently. The black fog around his body started to dissipate, and his body started to become blurry. Seeing this, Shuiying immediately lashed out 2 more times. Pung pung pung, the spear struck the body of the black armored soldier. Finally, the black armored soldier was struck until it dissipated, turning into a black fog before disappearing. In front of the cave palace, other than the large number of black armored soldiers, there were other powerful guards as well. One of them, who was wielding a huge sword and wearing luxurious armor, suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes shone with a silver light. Boom! He suddenly transformed into a black beam of light and streaked across the sky, flying towards Dongbu Shuiying at a terrifying speed. Although the distance between them was close to 100 li, the black beam of light was too fast. In the blink of an eye, it had already traversed over 10 li. Dongbui Shuang had been paying attention to the direction of the cave palace. After defeating the black armored soldier, he naturally saw the black beam of light flying towards him at a high speed. Flying in the sky. Amongst humans, only transcendents could truly fly in the sky and burrow into the ground. As for legend rankers who relied on the energy of the world, or mages who relied on spells, their flying speed was too slow. They couldn't even compare to those flying beasts. On the other hand, the flying speed of transcendence was truly frightening. Seeing that black beam of light, Dongbui Shuang felt a sense of fear. They were not on the same level at all. There's nowhere to run. Dongbui Shuang looked at the huge crack beneath his feet. He had been curious since the beginning. That powerful transcendent was able to create such a huge crack underground. Clearly, there should be a battlefield deep underground. Previously, he had been cautiously thinking of a way to explore it. I can't care anymore. Dongbui Shuang held onto the Feishua God Spear and directly leaped down. Chapter 75. Very soon, the black ray of light landed on the ground beside the fissure. The silver-eyed armored guard lowered its head and looked at the fissure coldly. There was not a single trace of emotion in its eyes. After observing for a moment, it held onto its gigantic sword and stood guard. Back then, the owner of the cave abode had left an order for them to patrol within a certain range. If the intruder was not within the range, they would not chase after him. Hoo-hoo! Accompanied by the sound of the wind, Dongbui Shuang descended rapidly. His entire body was bathed in flames, illuminating the underground fissure. Pung, he landed. Dongbui Shuang looked in front of him. The underground fissure was extending towards the direction of the cave abode. Could the battle have taken place in the cave abode? Dongbui Shuang immediately sprinted in that direction. His speed was extremely fast. After sprinting for a moment, he looked behind him and heaved a sigh of relief. Luckily, the guard did not chase after me. Following the path of the underground fissure, he sprinted all the way. Finally, he stopped. Dongbui Shuang looked in front of him. There was a silver-white wall in front of him. The wall was like a silver-white crystal jade, and it was extremely eye-catching among the rocks. However, there was a huge wound on the wall. The wound was at least 7 to 8 meters wide, and there were still remnants of baleful aura on it. The baleful aura caused even Dongbui Shuang to feel slightly fearful. This baleful aura, even after tens of thousands of years, was still able to cause Dongbui Shuang to feel pressured. It seems that the unimaginable battle that happened that year took place in this underground structure. An extremely powerful existence fiercely hacked out, splitting apart the walls, tearing apart the underground rock and earth, and piercing through more than 50 kilometers before finally appearing on the surface of the valley, leaving behind an enormous crack of 20 to 30 kilometers. Shuang inwardly nodded. This caused him to be even more shocked. The underground was filled with rocks and soil, and a single strike pierced through over 100 miles? Oh my God! It was not an exaggeration to say that it could destroy the heavens and earth. Outside the silver-white wall, he hesitated for a moment. I have no choice. Going to the Black Wind Abyss Valley is a dead end. Dongbui Shuang knew that there might be danger lurking within the silver-white walls, but at the same time, there might also be surprises waiting for him. I can only give it a try. He held the Feishua divine spear in his hand. Flames surrounded the surface of his body, and the power of heaven and earth spread out. Dongbui Shuang walked through the crack in the wall. Woo! The moment he entered, Dongbui Shuang's eyes lit up. In front of him was a huge hall that was over 300 meters tall. The hall was incomparably majestic, and it was at least 2 li wide. Such a large hall was indeed shocking. However, the huge pillars were either broken or collapsed. Many places in the hall were in ruins, and the sturdy silvery white floor was covered with hideous wounds. On the silvery white wall in the distance, there were more than 10 crisscrossing cracks. He had just entered from one of the cracks. A terrifying battle must have taken place here. Dongbui Shuang exclaimed as he looked around the hall. The hall was very spacious, and he could see everything with a single glance. However, Dongbui Shuang could not find a single door. There were no doors that led to the entrance or other places. The entire hall was completely sealed. Furthermore, even though the hall was in ruins, there were no unique items left on the floor. It seems like in that battle, at least one side survived and cleaned up this hall. Dong Shuang mumbled to himself. How did they enter this hall, and how did they leave? It can't be that they entered through the crack like I did, right? There must be something that I haven't discovered. Dong Shuang was unwilling to give up. He did not want to starve to death in the Black Wind Abyss. He wanted to leave this place alive. Walking in the hall, Dong Shuang observed his surroundings carefully. At the same time, he activated the power of heaven and earth to scan his surroundings carefully. His inspection was slow and meticulous. Wang, after the time taken to brew a cup of tea, when the power of heaven and earth swept across an empty space in the corner of the hall, a ripple suddenly appeared on the empty space. Something's wrong. Dong Shuang revealed a joyful expression. With a flip of his hand, a silver coin appeared in his hand. Xiao. The silver coin was tossed out, and it turned into a ray of light that shot towards the ripple. The ripple trembled and like a bubble, it instantly burst open, revealing the scene within. The scene within 100 meters changed drastically. There was a stone bed, and on the stone bed, a skeleton sat cross-legged. The skeleton was faintly glowing with an icy blue color, and it was wearing a silver robe. In front of the stone bed, there was an octagonal pool. There was a crystal-clear liquid flowing within the pool, and it was surrounded by a faint mist. Around the pool, there were countless runes of arrays that were constantly being maintained by the power of heaven and earth. On both sides of the pool, there were two statues of golden beasts. Both of them were 20 meters tall. One of the golden beasts was in the form of an ape, and its body was wrapped in chains. The other golden beast was in the form of a golden rock. Refiner organisms? With Dong Shuang's eyesight, he could tell that these two golden beasts were extraordinary with a single glance. That one has been dead for an unknown period of time, but its skeleton is still glowing with an icy blue color. This strange phenomenon, I'm afraid that it was a transcendent who died. It was impossible for a normal mortal's corpse to have such a strange phenomenon. I wonder if this refiner organism can still move. Dong Shuang pondered. Refiner organisms required energy to move. Once they ran out of energy, they wouldn't be able to move. But for a refiner organism left behind by a transcendent expert, Dong Shuang wasn't confident. So. Dong Shuang swiftly moved away, until he reached the entrance of the crack. Xiao. Then he tossed out a silver coin. The silver coin turned into a streak of fiery light as it traversed more than 500 meters, accurately hitting the golden ape-like statue. Suddenly, the golden ape-like statue opened its eyes without any warning. Its eyes glowed with a golden light, and it reached out its hand and grabbed the incoming silver coin as fast as lightning. Chi. The silver coin completely turned into powder as it flowed out of the cracks in its hand. The golden ape-like creature scanned its surroundings and saw Dong Shuang at the entrance of the crack. It roared, "Mortal, don't disturb my master." Dong Shuang revealed a hint of joy. Can speak? A refiner organism left behind by a transcendent expert was indeed different. It could even speak. The silver coin I tossed out didn't even touch it, but it woke up and grabbed the silver coin. Dong Shuang thought to himself, seems like it would wake up if I attacked it within a certain range. Also, judging from the speed at which it grabbed the gold coin, it doesn't seem too strong. The silver coin was not a suitable hidden weapon. He was only using it to probe the refiner organism. After flying for 500 meters, the silver coin's power had weakened. It wasn't difficult for him to grab it with his hand. Judging from the speed at which it grabbed the gold coin, it shouldn't be much faster than me. Also, I don't feel any pressure from its aura now that it has woken up. Dong Shuang was looking forward to it. Just like when he fell from the Black Wind Abyss, he saw a huge black dragon-like creature. With just a glance, his heart trembled and his legs turned to jelly. The two golden refiner organisms in front of him didn't seem to be invincible. Perhaps I might be able to obtain some of the items left behind by that transcendent expert. From there I might be able to find a way out. Dong Shuang couldn't hide his excitement. Since the other party was here, there should be a way out. Let's try again. Dongbu Shuang flipped his hand and a short spear appeared in it. The power of the short spear and the silver coin was on a completely different level. Ha! Dongbu Shuang leaned back and activated his bloodline of power. A trace of the profound mystery of fire was infused into the spear, causing the power of the short spear to increase. Boom! The short spear instantly tore through the air, emitting an ear-piercing sound. In an instant, it traversed 500 meters and arrived in front of the golden ape. Pung! The golden ape furiously slapped out with its palm. A loud sound rang out as the short spear was slammed into the ground. The golden ape also took a step back, causing a look of shock and anger to appear on its face. Ha ha ha! Ha ha ha! Ha ha ha! Ha ha, the difference isn't that big. Dongbu Shuiying's eyes lit up. Chapter 76. So. Dongbu Shuiying's speed was extremely fast. In just a few flashes, he had already closed in on the golden ape. However, his speed had also started to slow down. Mortal, get lost obediently. The golden ape bared its teeth and threatened. Ultimately, refiner organisms are not real living beings. They have to obey their master's orders. Dongbu Shuiying thought to himself. The fact that these two refiner organisms had waited obediently for so long after their master's death showed that their master had given them strict orders. Dongbu Shuiying was getting closer. The golden ape still did not attack. When Shuiying took a step into the area enveloped by the ripples, the golden ape immediately roared and rushed forward with large strides. Dongbu Shuiying immediately took a step back. The golden ape also stopped and stared angrily at Dongbu Shuiying. Boundary! Dongbu Shuiying laughed as he looked at the boundary of the ripples. Didn't your master order you to attack as long as you enter the boundary? You're not going to attack just because I'm outside the boundary? The golden ape roared, mortal, so what if you know about it? You better get lost obediently. Dongbu Shuiying was in a good mood. He thought that he would have to test it a few more times before he could confirm the order that the Transcendent had given to the refiner organism. He did not expect that he would be able to confirm the boundary so quickly. Then take this. Dongbu Shuiying wielded the Feishua godly spear and in a flash, he entered the boundary. The spear turned into a stream of flames and pierced towards the golden ape. The surrounding flames engulfed the golden ape completely. Even though the flames of the heaven and earth could suppress the golden ape did not seem to care at all. Mortal, prepare to die. The golden ape waved its huge palm and slammed down. As for Dongbu Shuiying's spear, it completely ignored it. Boo! The spear pierced through the golden ape's knee, leaving only a white mark on its knee. As an alchemy creature, its body was extremely tough. Even if Dongbu Shuiying was 10 times stronger, it would still be difficult for him to damage its body. Boom! The huge palm slapped down, and Dongbu Shuiying hurriedly dodged it. The defense of transcendent alchemy creatures is too strong. Dongbu Shuiying thought to himself. Since I can't pierce through it, I can only rely on brute force. Thankfully, it's not as agile as me. In the instant they exchanged blows, they were able to determine each other's strengths and weaknesses. Bam bam bam. Dongbu Shuiying, who was bathed in flames, moved around the golden ape like a specter, dodging its attacks time and time again. At the same time, he swung the spear in his hand with all his might. He exerted his strength to the extreme. When he whipped and swept, he focused on certain joints such as the knee joints and ankle joints. Alchemy creatures could be flexible in battle, but their joints were also complicated, so they were weak in terms of confrontation. When the golden ape's joints were hit, it would occasionally stumble. However, it remained completely unharmed, and continued to slap down with its huge palm. Monkey, you can't even deal with a mortal? Looks like I still have to do it. The golden rock, who had been like a statue all this while, suddenly opened its eyes as well. Its golden eyes swept across the golden ape. Just watch. The golden ape was enraged. With one hand it grabbed the chain that was coiled around its body. Clatter clatter clatter. The chain flew out and lashed out fiercely. Dongbu Shuiying was shocked. The chain whizzed towards him like a phantom, and Dongbu Shuiying instantly pierced out with his spear, piercing one of the links of the chain. However, the chain instantly coiled around the spear. It even knows how to use chains. These chains are quite powerful in the hands of this ape. Fortunately, its moves are simple. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to fight it. Dongbu Shuiying's expression changed slightly. He was immediately forced to be careful. He waved the chain around, increasing the range of the golden ape's attacks. Dongbu Shuiying also had a hard time dodging the golden ape's attacks. Even though the golden ape's strength wasn't too ridiculous, it was still stronger than him. The golden ape's strength was a notch higher, and its defense was invincible. In addition, the chain was extremely strange. For a moment, Dongbu Shuiying was having a hard time dealing with the golden ape. However, with his agility he was able to hold on. A mere mortal can fight for so long. The golden rock swooped down. It was so fast that it turned into an afterimage. Dongbu Shuiying was shocked. So fast. The golden ape's wings whizzed past, and they were like sharp blades. Dongbu Shuiying hurriedly used his spear to block, but the golden ape's wings collided with the spear's body. Pung! A sound of impact could be heard, and Dongbo's entire body flew backwards. At this moment, a strange and unfathomable shackle came flying over with a whoosh, trying to bind Shuiying. Dang! In midair, Dongbu Shuiying stabbed out with his spear, changing the direction of the chain. He then landed on the ground and took 3 steps back. Naturally, he was already out of the boundary. Dongbu Shuiying looked at the golden ape and golden rock in the distance. For a moment he was vexed. In terms of strength, the golden ape is actually above me. Its only weakness is its agility. Even I find it difficult to fight against it. But the golden rock's speed far surpasses mine. With the two of them working together, there's no way I can fight against it. With the two of them working together, he would only end up being trampled. Haha, mortal, I admit that you have some strength. However, you're still far from being able to defeat the two of us. That spear of yours can only scratch an itch for me. The golden ape laughed gleefully. Humph, the golden rock didn't speak much. No hurry, I still have enough time. Dongbu Shuiying was very calm. My body is constantly getting stronger, and my douqi is also improving. When my body reaches its limit, I'm afraid that my strength will increase by a lot. At that time, I'll try to fight against these 2 transcendent refiner organisms. Water Rights Town. While Dongbu Shuiying was fighting against the 2 transcendent refiner organisms, Ji Rong had returned to her home in Water Rights Town. She was chased out of Snowrock Mountain early in the morning. Rong, why are you back? Ji Wuhai and his wife were by his daughter's side. Damn, Dongbu Shuiying. Ji Rong's face was gloomy, and her eyes were filled with an ominous glint. It had been a long time since she had been so unlucky. Those who had bullied her and looked down on her, she had ruthlessly taken revenge on them. In Snowrock Mountain, she was even more pampered. After all, she was a little beauty second only to Yu. Dongbu Shuiying? Ji Wuhai was somewhat puzzled. What happened? Did you find out about Dongbu's family's secret? No. Ji Rong coldly replied. The wealth of Dongbu's family is not important. The most important thing is, this Dongbu Shuiying is an extremely powerful legend ranker. Just last night, he and Xiang Pengyun perished together at Black Wind Cliff. Perished together with Xiang Pengyun? Ji Wuhai and his wife were both shocked. Oh my god. Although the two of them had come into contact with some strong experts, Xiang Pengyun was the #1 expert in the entire Azure River County. How old was Dongbu Shuiying? How could he be comparable to Xiang Pengyun? He is a legend ranker? This kind of big matter must be reported to the law protector. Ji Wuhai said. Dongbu Shuiying is dead. He must have left a lot of treasures for Qing Shi. Ji Rong was somewhat angry and unwilling. I originally wanted to stay by Qing Shi's side. At that time it would be too easy to get those treasures. But I did not expect that before Dongbu Shuiying fell into Black Wind Abyss, he actually expelled me from Snowrock Mountain and told Qing Shi not to be with me. So many treasures, if we get them and offer them to the law protector, our family's contribution will be huge. The great god will also give us more. Ji Rong's eyes were filled with anger and unwillingness. This matter is very important. Quickly report to the law protector. Ji Wuhai said. The sooner the better. At this time on the street outside the Ji family's mansion, a large group of knights had already arrived. The leader of the Dragon Mountain Manor, Lord Xian, was at the front. Lord, I have been watching. Ji Rong has just returned home. A scout reported. Lord Xian nodded lightly. with Dongbui Shuiying's talent, he will definitely alert the Transcendents. Everything must be done beautifully. This Ji family is suspected to be a follower of the demon god. Although we have not confirmed it, at least they have committed a lot of crimes. Capture them all first, to prevent this Ji family from informing the demon god's followers and causing more trouble. Lord is wise. Yu Tu, who was at the side, praised. They had already sent people to keep watch. As soon as Ji Rong returned home, they would immediately capture her. Go in and capture the entire Ji family, including the servants. Don't let a single one of them go. There might be some demon god's followers among these servants. Lord Xian ordered. Yes. Boom. A large number of soldiers quickly surrounded the mansion. The two guards at the entrance of the Ji clan's mansion were still somewhat afraid and panicked, but they didn't dare to resist at all. The knights directly rushed over and kicked open the door. Rumble. A large group of knights and soldiers rushed into the Ji clan's mansion. Chapter 77. On the wide street of Azure River County, an ordinary-looking carriage was slowly moving forward. Inside the carriage, Cui Jinpeng was wrapped in a black robe. His face was gloomy and his eyes flashed with killing intent. Bloodshed Tavern, you are so famous, yet you are so dishonest. Cui Jinpeng gritted his teeth. Forget about not completing the mission. But to kill that Dongbui Qingshi, you actually want me to post a second bounty? He went to Bloodshed Tavern early in the morning to wait for the results of the mission. Bloodshed Tavern replied, Dongbui Shuiying's strength far exceeded our expectations. The assassins we sent out suffered heavy losses. This mission is dismissed. Dismissed? What about the bounty? Not retreating. Cui Jinpeng was furious. How could he know that Bloodshed Tavern was also very dissatisfied? This mission was too disadvantageous for them. 3 Silver Moon assassins had died, but Wind Demon had also died. Xiang Pengyun had also died. Xiang Pengyun was a demonic beast that had transformed into a human. His death was fine, but the most important thing was that Dongbui Shuiying was already so amazing at the age of 22. Such a talent would definitely become a transcendent in the future. For such a monstrous talent, Bloodshed Tavern did not want gold coins. What they wanted was a more precious transcendent item. This mission was too disadvantageous. How much is the bounty for Dongbui Qingshi? Cui Jinpeng asked. Bloodshed Tavern replied, now that Snowrock Castle has attracted the attention of a transcendent, 1 month to assassinate Dongbui Qingshi will require 1 million gold coins. 1 month later, to assassinate Dongbui Qingshi will require 500,000 gold coins. Cui Jinpeng turned around and left. 1 month later, assassinating Dongbui Qingshi will require 500,000 gold coins? Cui Jinpeng was about to go crazy in the carriage. Bloodshed Tavern is so greedy. They only know how to ask for money. He did not have much money left. The previous bounty had almost depleted his savings. It's just a weak mage. If that's the case, I can only personally bring some assassins. Cui Jinpeng gritted his teeth. As the leader of the county city's underworld, he naturally had his own assassins. Previously, he had only invited the Bloodshed Tavern because he had 100% chance of success. Who would have thought that this would be the result? In fact, he didn't know that he had already gained a lot. Because of his measly 1 million gold coins, Wind Demon, Xiang Pengyun, and Dongbui Shuiying had fallen into the Black Wind Abyss. Even transcendent experts were alerted. Lulu. The carriage suddenly stopped, causing Cui Jinpeng's expression to change slightly. He shouted, why did you stop? Wild Cui. A hoarse voice came from outside. Come out. Cui Jinpeng's expression changed as he hurriedly opened the carriage door. With a glance, he saw 3 black-robed figures in front of the carriage. The leader was a black-robed old man with grizzled hair and a pair of golden teeth. His eyes were cold. Head butler Lu. Cui Jinpeng immediately got off the car in a flattering manner. The white-haired old man swept a cold glance at them. Capture them and take them away? Head butler Lu, what's going on? Cui Jinpeng was somewhat at a loss, but he didn't dare to resist. He allowed the 2 black-robed men to shackle his arms, because he knew very well that this head butler Lu was the personal head butler of the Xi clan's ancestor, Xi Lianghong. His status was extremely high. The reason why he, Cui Jinpeng, was able to become the leader of the county city's underworld was because of Si Lianghong's approval. Master wants to see you, head butler Lu said, but didn't say anything else. Ancestor? Cui Jinpeng's face was somewhat pale. A moment later, in a garden, Cui Jinpeng saw the Si clan's ancestor. Ancestor. Cui Jinpeng timidly knelt down. Si Lianghong. Although she had lived for many years, her appearance was rather beautiful. She was like an enchanting beauty. She wore a blood-red robe, and her hair was also blood-red. Her skin was fair. Anyone who saw her couldn't help but feel an impulse. After all, she had the blood demon body, so she naturally had some charm. Just because of you? Si Lianghong looked at Cui Jinpeng. Just because of a small fry like you, Xiangpeng Yun, who was sent by the sorcerer god's temple to infiltrate this place, died? And even the monstrous genius Dongbo Xueying, who was destined to become a transcendent, fell into the black wind abyss and died? The affairs of the world are unpredictable. A small fry and two powerful people are dead just like that. Si Lianghong sighed. Her Si clan was the absolute overlord of the Azure River County, covering the sky with one hand. Even in some of the filthy underworld, they still had a large number of spies. This Cui Jinpeng was known as the Si clan's loyal dog. Even when the Si clan placed spies in his mansion, he didn't dare to have a trace of objection. Thus, the death of his child, Cui Hu, was quickly known by the Si clan. They even knew that Cui Jinpeng had been to the Bloodshed Tavern. Many heroes and outstanding people would sometimes fall because of a small fry. Si Lianghong sighed. All right, old Lu, I've seen him. Take him away and deal with him. Clean him up. Yes. Butler Lu said respectfully. Ancestor, ancestor. I'm loyal and devoted to the Si clan. Cui Jinpeng immediately cried out in fear. Si Lianghong was too lazy to even look at him, because she knew that a transcendent would come this time. Thus, the cause of this matter, the transcendent would definitely want to understand clearly. As the cause of this matter was Cui Jinpeng, she wanted to prevent Cui Jinpeng from speaking carelessly. It was better to deal with this matter as soon as possible. Moreover, this matter had nothing to do with the Si clan. It was Cui Jinpeng's own idea. A monstrous genius who was almost certain to step into the transcendent realm died just like that. Although the sorcerer's temple lost a chess piece, it was still a huge gain. Si Lianghong was slightly nervous this time. The transcendent will definitely be furious. The Azure River County is under the control of my Si clan. I hope he won't take his anger out on my Si clan. Among the mortals, the Si clan was an overlord. But in front of a transcendent? But it could be destroyed with a wave of his hand. On the same day, Si Lianghong rushed to the Black Wind Cliff of the Azure River County and personally waited there. Out of her expectations, she had to wait for the third day before the transcendents finally arrived. Sila, in the sky above the Black Wind Cliff, the sun shone brightly. Suddenly, a crack appeared in the space and a figure stepped out from it. Si Lianghong had been sitting cross-legged on the Black Wind Cliff. Her surroundings were maintained by a spell, isolating her from the violent winds. Sensing the spatial fluctuation, she raised her head and looked up. Immediately, she revealed a shocked expression and stood up respectfully. Greetings, Lord Eternal Wind. The person who came was the strongest transcendent in the entire Tranquil Sun Province. Eternal Wind Knight Xiu Qi Bai. Si Lianghong was very nervous. I thought it was another transcendent. Never did I expect it to be the Eternal Wind Knight. This matter actually alarmed such a terrifying existence. I heard that you have already executed Cui Jinpeng? Xiu Qi Bai's appearance could be considered quite handsome. With his white hair fluttering, he stood in mid-air in a green robe. Yes, Si Lianghong respectfully replied. The cause of this matter was because Cui Jinpeng had issued a bounty mission. I already know the ins and outs of the matter. Xiu Qi Bai took a step forward and stood above the black wind abyss. The violent black winds were temporarily suppressed and dissipated. Looking down, he could faintly see a terrifying energy surging in the depths of the black wind abyss, blocking his line of sight. It was impossible for him to see what was in the depths of the black wind abyss. Sigh, it's rare for a new transcendent to be born in my Tranquil Sun Province, but he was killed by a bastard from the Sorcerer God Palace. It's really not worth it. Qiu Qibai lightly shook his head. You can leave first. Yes. Si Lianghong knew that she had passed this hurdle. Obviously, Qiu Qibai would not vent his anger on her. She immediately retreated and leaped down the black wind cliff. Qiu Qibai stood above the black wind abyss. An invisible force was suppressing the area below. Qiu Qibai. Amidst the surging energy, a blurry and huge figure suddenly appeared. Following that, a black dragon head appeared. The huge black dragon head looked at Qiu Qibai, who was standing in midair. Why? You're not satisfied with your previous defeat and want to try again? I've said it before. If you want to conquer this place, you're still not strong enough. You better go back and cultivate. There was a mortal who fell down. Is he still alive? Qiu Qibai asked. Oh, there was a mortal young man. With a whoosh he fell down. Perhaps he fell to his death. The black dragon head said, I'm just the first guardian. Master's Cave Palace will naturally be guarded by even stronger guardians. I can't control the bottom of the valley, nor can I control the cave palace. Qiu Qibai looked down and sighed. This time, the matter regarding Dongbo Shueying was immediately reported to the Transcendents. However, the Black Wind Abyss was a headache even for Transcendents. In the end, it was still reported to Qiu Qibai. That was why it was delayed for 2 to 3 days before Qiu Qibai personally rushed over. If he's still alive, please help me send him out. Qiu Qibai said. You're quite polite. The black dragon head laughed. If I see him, I'll send him out. After all, he's just a mortal. Master's orders are mainly for Transcendents. Qiu Qibai secretly shook his head. The Black Wind Abyss used to be very mysterious. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, an existence who had successfully become a deity had entered the Black Wind Abyss to explore. Only then did the Transcendents of the human world know that the Black Wind Abyss was a cave palace left behind by an extremely powerful expert. Only a transcendent expert who completely defeated all the guardians would have the qualifications to obtain the treasures left behind by this senior. Although that deity, including the Dragon Mountain Emperor, had entered to take a look, they didn't forcefully snatch it. Firstly, forcefully snatching it might result in self-destruction. Secondly, they had already become deities. In their respective eras, they had established a unified empire. They were all invincible existences in the human world at that time. Therefore, they didn't have any greed towards the treasures. What a pity. Qiu Qibai lightly shook his head. He also felt that Dongbo Shueying was doomed. If he's still alive, our tranquil Sun province will have another transcendent in the future. Furthermore, looking at his talent, it would only appear once every 100 years in the entire world. He might even be able to go further among the transcendents. What a pity, what a pity. Qiu Qibai, continue to cultivate. I have high hopes for you. Perhaps in the future, you will have a chance to obtain the treasures left behind by my master. However, the current you is still far from that. The black dragon head below laughed. Farewell. Qiu Qibai turned and left. Rip. A crack appeared in the space. Qiu Qibai directly stepped into the crack and disappeared. Chapter 78. The news of Dongbo Shueying and Xiang Pengyun fighting for hundreds of miles and dying together at the Black Wind Cliff spread like wildfire. This sensational news spread like wildfire. Of course, the secret that Xiang Pengyun was a demonic beast was kept a secret. How many years has it been since our water rights town produced such an amazing expert? He's only 22 years old, yet he was able to fight the legendary Xiang Pengyun to a stalemate. They fought for hundreds of miles and finally died together. An old man in the tavern shook his head in grief. Such a talent in the future, he would definitely become a legendary transcendent. Such a pity to fall like this. Just thinking about it makes my heart ache. Old man song, who is Xiang Pengyun? Someone suddenly shouted. Truly ignorant. The old man sneered, too lazy to say anything more. Xiang Pengyun is the #1 expert in the entire Azure River County. He's even stronger than the Sea Clan's ancestor, who has lived for hundreds of years. It is said that he's only a step away from becoming a transcendent. Even if Dongbo Shueying started cultivating when he was in his mother's womb, he's only cultivated for 22 years, yet he was able to fight evenly with Xiang Pengyun and even perish together. Don't you think that Dongbo Shueying is amazing? Our water rights town is such a small place. How many tens of thousands of years would it be hard for such a person to appear? The news of this battle spread like wildfire in the Azure River County. Even other places in the Tranquil Sun Province, and even other provinces would occasionally discuss about it. Even though the news spread did not mention that Shuang had grasped hold of the realm of myriad existences, and that he could perish together with Xiang Pangyun, and that he was so young, he could be considered a monster in the entire Dragon Mountain Empire. Eastfield Province, Thunder Tide Shore. Rumble, the seawater crashed over and over again, creating countless snow-white waves. On the Thunder Tide Shore, there were many caves with locked doors. These caves were used to imprison some of the Emoyang clan's prisoners. Only those with special identities would be locked up for long periods of time. Clang! A heavy door opened, and a maidservant went in to deliver food and drinks. The Thunder Tide Shore was a forbidden area, and there was a spell formation around it. There was no need to worry about the criminals escaping. In the dark cave, a purple-robed woman was standing in front of a smooth stone wall. She had a carving knife in her hand, and she was easily carving a spell model on the stone wall. She was frowning and thinking hard. Because she was in confinement, she didn't have good experimental conditions, and she didn't have many papers and pens. She only had a carving knife with her brother's help. The spell models carved on the stone walls were just references. Most of the calculations were deduced and analyzed in her mind. Although Mo Yongyu was in confinement, she was able to concentrate on comprehending magic techniques. "Madam." The maid put down the food and said softly. And Mo Yongyu turned her head and looked at the maid. "Why are you still here? Is there something?" Usually, the maid would quietly leave after putting down the food. "A lord has asked me to pass on a message," the maid said. "Milord." Mo Yongyu frowned. "Who?" "Lord Mo Yangchanbai." The maid said. What message does he want to pass on? I want to hear it." Mo Yongyu sneered. The maid took a deep breath and said. Lord Mo Yangchanbai said. "Mo Yongyu, you have given birth to an extraordinary son. He is only 22 years old, but he was able to fight with the #1 expert of Azure River County, Xiang Pangyun. The two of them fought for hundreds of miles and finally, both of them perished at Black Wind Cliff. To have such a son, I have to congratulate you." The maid was slightly nervous. "Madam, I will take my leave." She was just a little maid. Mo Yangchanbai had ordered her to pass on a message, so how could she dare to refuse? Mo Yongyu stood there motionlessly, but tears flowed down her cheeks. "Wait a moment." Mo Yongyu suddenly shouted. The maid who was on her way out stopped. "Tell me, is what he said true?" Mo Yongyu couldn't help but ask. The maid quickly replied, reporting to Madam, "It is indeed true. The battle between Dongbua Shuiying and Xiang Pangyun is now a hot topic in the Mo Yang clan. There are also many people who say that if we had brought Dongbua Shuiying back, our Mo Yang clan would have become even more powerful. This news is already from 3 months ago." Mo Yongyu lightly waved her hand, and the maid respectfully retreated. After the maid left, the heavy door closed once again. Mo Yongyu's body went limp as she sat on the ground. Her hands clutched the ground and her fingers turned white. She said in a trembling voice, "Snow Eagle, I have let you down. I have let you down, my son." In Mo Yongyu's mind, there was only the scene of their separation that year. Her eldest son, Dongbua Shuiying, was holding the hand of her youngest son, Qing Shi, as they stood at the entrance of the castle. "Father, mother, I Dongbua Shuiying swear. I will definitely save you and bring you back. Our family will definitely be reunited, definitely. I swear. I swear I will definitely save you. No one will be able to stop me." Her son's tender voice seemed to still be ringing in her ears. Mo Yongyu's face was already full of tears, and her body was trembling. "Snow Eagle, my son, why did it become like this? Why?" East Fragrant Lake Refinery inside the Mage Tower. "Dongbua Lai, quick, move all these away." In a laboratory room there was a pile of charred waste, and a young male mage shouted loudly, "Coming, coming." Dongbua Lai was wearing a somewhat tattered cloth, and very skillfully started to clean up the mess. "Dongbua Lai, Mo Yangchanbai asked me to tell you a piece of news," the young male mage said. "It's about your son, Dongbua Shuiying." "Snow Eagle?" Dongbua Lai's body trembled. Your son Dongbo Shuiying is really amazing. He fought a life-and-death battle with Xiang Pangyuan. From Snowrock Mountain all the way to Black Wind Cliff, they fought for more than 100 miles and finally died together. The young male mage said as he turned around and walked out. Speaking of which, I really admire your son. He is really amazing. Unfortunately, he died too early. Oh right, remember to clean up this place. Dongbo Lai felt that everything around him had lost its color, and unconsciously, the mess in his hands fell to the ground. He was stunned and his body slightly trembled. Eternal Wind Academy. Jing Qiu, who had been in seclusion for more than a month, walked out of her own mage tower. Breathing the outside air, her face was full of smiles. In the sea of mages, every time she broke through a difficulty, she would feel joy and a sense of accomplishment from the bottom of her heart. This is really embarrassing. It's embarrassing, the whole academy has so many students and teachers, but they were all reprimanded by the Eternal Wind Academy. Two female mages walked side by side. A slightly plump female mage muttered, "They say that our entire Eternal Wind Academy doesn't have a genius like Dongbo Shuiying, but speaking of which we really can't compare to him. He was only 22 years old, but he was able to fight on par with Xiang Pangyuan, and finally died together. I've been in the academy for so long, but this is the first time I've seen the Eternal Wind Academy's dean. I didn't expect it to be because of Dongbo Shuiying. The Eternal Wind Academy's dean has been cultivating for 8 to 10 years. Many students have never had the chance to see the dean since they entered the academy. To be able to see him once is already a great fortune. I can hear that the dean is very sad about Dongbo Shuiying's matter. He told us, I guess it's to encourage us. That's right, Dongbo Shuiying didn't have a powerful teacher to guide him, and only trained by himself, yet he was able to become so strong. Speaking of this, it's really a pity that such a genius died like this." The two female mages talked as they walked. Jing Qiu, on the other hand, was stunned. The Eternal Wind Academy's dean's appearance was a big deal, but there was another piece of news that shocked her even more. Dongbo Shuiying? Jing Qiu was confused. He's dead. She could still remember. The black-robed young man who had dashed towards her in the midst of her despair. In the midst of the countless rocks that had exploded. The black-robed young man who had used a shield to block all the falling rocks in the darkness, completely protecting her. The seemingly ordinary man, but he was like a huge mountain. Impossible, there must be something wrong with the news, there must be. Jing Qiu immediately ran to ask the others in the academy. Dongbo Shuiying had no idea what was happening in the outside world. In the vast and majestic dilapidated main hall, Dongbo Shuiying sat cross-legged cultivating. The surging energy of the heavens and earth surged continuously into his body, and was absorbed by his body. It had been almost 5 months since he fell into the Black Wind Abyss. These days he had been cultivating, trying his best to increase his strength. Phew! Dongbo Shuiying opened his eyes, they were very bright. Finally, my body has reached its limit. I can no longer increase it any further. Dongbo Shuiying felt the vigorous power in his body. His speed, strength, and many other aspects had all reached an extremely shocking level. I should give it a try. There should be some hope of defeating these two transcendent alchemy creatures. Dongbo Shuiying looked at the golden ape and golden rock in the distance. 5 months had passed, and these two transcendent alchemy creatures had not taken a single step out of the boundary. Chapter 79. Dongbo Shuiying wielded the Feishue godly spear as he walked towards the two golden statues. The golden ape opened its eyes. "Mortal, you're still coming? With your current strength, there's no hope for you. Perhaps there might be a surprise this time," Dongbo Shuiying replied. After which, a faint blood-colored aura appeared on the surface of his body. The power bloodline was activated. South Dongbo Shuiying leaped out as his entire body was bathed in flames. The raging flames engulfed the surroundings, including the golden ape and the golden rock which had its eyes closed. At the same time, he raised the spear in his hands up high, and with a might akin to the collision of stars, he smashed it down towards the golden ape. A head-on clash? Mortal, you're really reckless. The golden ape watched as Dongbo Shuiying prepared his attack in midair. Following which, it waved its hands confidently as it welcomed the attack with its palm. In terms of strength, it was still very confident. Boom! The spear struck the golden palm furiously, and a powerful shockwave could be felt. The golden ape's arm could not help but bend, and its body was forced to take 3 heavy steps back. Its eyes were filled with shock. Even though one side had prepared his attack, and the other side had casually received it. But to be able to force it to take 3 steps back, it was obvious that the strength of both sides was on par. Your strength is really great, monkey. However, this time you're going to lose for sure. Dongbu Shuiying was filled with confidence. The moment he landed on the ground, he dashed forward as fast as a specter. So fast, the golden ape hurriedly waved its long chains, which danced in the air as it tried to block Dongbu Shuiying. Clang clang clang. Dongbu Shuiying's speed was obviously much faster than before. His physique had improved tremendously, allowing his agility and many other aspects to reach new heights. Previously, he already had an advantage in terms of agility. Now, his advantage was even greater. The golden ape's chains were completely unable to hit Dongbu Shuiying. Dongbu Shuiying dodged them easily, and occasionally blocked with his spear. Bam bam bam. The spear lashed out again and again, hitting some of the joints of the golden ape's body, causing it to stagger. Little bird, I can't hold on any longer, the golden ape anxiously shouted. Monkey, you're really useless. A golden figure whizzed over. With a solemn expression, Dongbu Shuiying exerted strength from his waist and abdomen as he swept out with his spear. Hong! The might of the spear directly collided with the golden rock's wings. The golden rock was forced to take a step back, and Dongbu Shuiying also took a step back. You have indeed improved greatly, said the golden rock hurriedly. Monkey, join forces. All right, the golden ape replied. Suddenly, the golden rock took the initiative to dive in front of him. Its wings were like blades slashing over, and sometimes they were like palm leaf fans. The golden rock's speed was extremely fast, but its strength was slightly weaker than his own. Relying on his exquisite spear technique, he could completely suppress it, but the golden ape was waving the strange and unpredictable chain again and again behind him. The ape grabbed the chain with both of its hands, and the 2 ends of the chain would occasionally shoot out, whip or entangle. Strange and unpredictable. A single chain combined with the golden rock. Although Dongbu Shuiying clearly had the upper hand, he was still unable to break free from the golden rock's entanglement. Damn it! Dongbu Shuiying clenched his teeth. The 2 of us have worked together for many years, and we specialize in entangling our enemies. Forget about you, even some transcendents would find it hard to break free from us. The golden ape said confidently. Although the 2 of us cannot defeat you, it is too easy to stop you. The golden rock was also very confident. With his spear, Dongbu Shuiying fought against the 2 transcendent refiner organisms. His spear technique was exquisite, but he was unable to break free from the obstruction. Their creator is naturally a powerful transcendent mage. Dongbu Shuiying understood. Mages have weak bodies, so they probably created these 2 refiner organisms to be used as shields to block their enemies. That way, mages would be able to easily cast powerful spells. This kind of meat shield might have weak attacks, but their defense and entanglement were top-notch. For example, these 2 transcendent refiner organisms, their bodies were made of extraordinary materials, and he was unable to injure them. Their bodies were huge, and one of them was extremely fast. When they spread their wings, they could cover a distance of 20 to 30 meters. The other one had a strange and unpredictable chain. The chain's flying speed was much faster than his own movement speed. Time and time again it would disrupt and disturb him. Could it be that I cannot defeat these 2 fellas? Dongbu Shuiying was anxious. My strength has already reached a limit, and it is hard for me to increase it any further. Shuiying used all his strength, but the golden rock and the golden ape, one in front and one behind, were like 2 walls blocking Shuiying's way. They even used their bodies to block the entanglement. They were refiner organisms, and every part of their body could be used as a weapon. My food can only last me for another half a year. My only hope of leaving this place lies with these transcendent skeletons. An intense desire could be seen in Dongbu Shuiying's eyes. There is no other way. This is my last option. Dongbu Shuiying retreated out of the boundary. Giving up? The golden rock laughed coldly. Mortal, you do have some strength, but it is a pity that you are still lacking to defeat us. The golden ape said. Give up? How can I give up? Dongbu Shuiying laughed. You guys are refiner organisms and fighting will exhaust your energy, right? The more intense the battle, the more energy will be exhausted. You guys might be able to absorb energy from heaven and earth to replenish your energy, but the speed of replenishment will never be able to keep up with the rate of exhaustion. Once your energy is exhausted, you guys won't be able to move anymore, right? The golden ape and the golden rock were slightly taken aback. Take this. Dongbu Shuang wielded a spear, and flames surrounded him. He charged forward once again, but this time he did not activate his bloodline of power. Actually, even if he did not activate his bloodline, Dongbu Shuiying's physical strength was already much stronger than 5 months ago. As for his speed and agility, it was even more impressive. His current body was not any weaker than Xiang Pengyun's body. This was because Dongbu Shuiying's human body was smaller, and his agility was even higher than that of the demonic beast. Rumble. Although Dongbu Shuiying was unable to gain the upper hand without activating his bloodline, he was still able to fight evenly with the golden rock and the golden ape with his exquisite spear techniques and agility. Mortal, are you really going to continue killing like this? The golden ape was getting anxious. Of course. How could Dongbu Shuiying give up on this hope of leaving this place? Any transcendent refiner organism had its own source of energy. Of course, it could make use of the formation within its body to absorb energy from the heavens and earth to replenish itself. However, this kind of replenishment was far from comparable to a real life. Monkey, perhaps our days of protection are coming to an end, the golden rock said. A complicated look appeared in the golden ape's eyes. Then he whipped his chain towards Dongbu Shuiying and said, Mortal, if you have the ability, exhaust both of our energy. No matter what, we will follow Master's orders and do our best to stop you. Come on then. Dongbu Shuiying saw hope, and he was naturally filled with fighting spirit. 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, this time the battle lasted for a full 18 hours. Only then did Dongbu Shuiying stop to rest due to exhaustion. The main reason was that the bloodline of power had used up too much of his stamina. Otherwise, he would have been able to last longer. Following that, he ate some food and absorbed the energy from the heavens and earth to replenish his stamina. Then he meditated to recover his energy. Just 6 hours later, Shuiying was as lively as a dragon and lively as a tiger. Again, the second long battle lasted for 3 days. After resting for 6 hours, he was full of energy again. Again, Dongbu Shuiying held the spear in his hand, and his body was bathed in flames as he attacked again. 15 days later, the golden ape and the golden rock sat down dispiritedly. You win. The golden ape's voice was slightly weak. What a freak. You humans recover too quickly. You only need 6 hours to fully recover. I'm afraid I will need 3 months to fully recover. There's no way I can continue fighting. He is a life form. We are just refiner organisms. The golden rock said. Both of their auras were weak, and they only had the strength to speak. If they were to continue fighting, they would not have the strength to do so. Dongbu Shuiying was excited. He smiled and said, Both of you, I won't stand on ceremony then. Actually, my master has been waiting for a successor. However, he did not expect it to be immortal. The golden ape shook his head and muttered. Dongbu Shuiying walked forward. He first looked at the octagonal pool. There was a crystal-clear liquid in the pool, and there was a thin layer of mist on the surface. With a light sniff, he could smell a refreshing scent. His entire body quivered, and it felt as though his fatigue had dissipated. He felt much more spirited. This caused Dongbu Shuiying's eyes to light up. What a good treasure. He then looked at the silver-robed skeleton sitting cross-legged on the stone bed in front of him. There was a silver bracelet on the stone bed, next to the skeleton's right hand. He could tell that it was a storage bracelet with just a little sensing. Junior Dongbu Shuiying greets Senior. Dongbu Shuiying knelt down and paid his respects. Since he was able to obtain a treasure left behind by a transcendent, it was only right for him to pay his respects. Please forgive this junior for offending you. As he spoke, he waved his hand. Under the power of the heavens and earth, the silver bracelet flew from the stone bed to Dongbu Shuiying's hand. Instantly, he infused his battle qi into the bracelet and refined it easily. Following which, he carefully examined the silver bracelet. What a huge space! The moment he examined it, Dongbu Shuiying was stunned by the space within the silver bracelet. Chapter 80. The space inside the silver wristband was at least 30 meters long, wide, and high. It was simply a super large warehouse. Previously, Shuiying had obtained a storage ring that was 3 meters long, wide, and high, which was worth nearly 1,000,000 gold coins. How much would this silver bracelet be worth? I'm afraid that gold coins no longer mean much to transcendence. They can easily obtain the wealth and power of the mortal world. Dongbu Shuiying sighed inwardly. He then took a closer look at the other items within the silver bracelet. The silver bracelet was empty, and there were very few items within. However, each and every one of them made Dongbu Shuiying feel that they were extraordinary. The most eye-catching item was a black inner armor. The inner armor was glowing with starlight, and the aura it emitted was so strong that even Dongbu Shuiying felt suffocated. So strong. The other eye-catching item was a long staff. The entire staff was crimson in color, and the aura it emitted was equally strong. There was also a huge pile of dusty cobblestones. When piled up, it was as tall as a human. However, these seemingly ordinary cobblestones were also emitting a dense aura of heaven and earth energy. Other than that, there were some miscellaneous items. There were books, some gold coins, and other miscellaneous items. Shuiying walked to the side. With a wave of his hand, he took out all the items within the silver wristband and placed them on the ground of the Great Hall. He did not care about the other treasures and directly went to where the books were. Heavenly Water. Dongbu Shuiying sat down cross-legged and casually picked up a book. Flipping it open, he could not help but reveal a look of curiosity. Transcendent Douqi Cultivation Technique? Douqi cultivation techniques circulated among mortals, be it low-grade, high-grade, or even transcendent-grade cultivation techniques, could only be cultivated to the transcendent realm. But after the transcendent realm, it was unknown. Only by stepping into the transcendent realm can one truly embark on the path of cultivation. This path is filled with difficulties and dangers. One must advance step by step. The final destination of the transcendent realm is to become a god. This book only briefly described the cultivation technique. After that, it was the detailed content of the cultivation technique. However, these few simple sentences caused Dongbu Shuiying to be stunned. In many stories there were deities. The Dragon Mountain Emperor was a deity. So this is the end of the extraordinary path. God. No wonder the Dragon Mountain Emperor was able to unify the world. Dongbu Shuiying thought to himself as he flipped through the manual. This manual was after all a water attribute Douqi cultivation technique. It wasn't suitable for him at all. However, Dongbu Shuiying had also gained a rough understanding of the transcendent path. After flipping through the book, Dongbu Shuiying picked up another thick book. The Illustration of All Living Things. Dongbu Shuiying took a quick look at the introduction of all sorts of transcendent beings, and all of them were extremely mystical. However, this was not what he needed right now, so he picked up another book. Dongbu Shuiying's eyes lit up. Found it. There were no words on the cover of the gold leaf book. As soon as he flipped it open, the first paragraph of text was, I see God Palace Elder Lei Zhan. I have lived for 1,500 years and have reached the end of my lifespan. This time I will go into seclusion. I will either die in this Black Wind Deity Palace or break through to the demigod realm. Dongbu Shuiying was slightly stunned. See God Palace? It should be some transcendent power. 1,500 years. That was truly a long lifespan. He wants to break through to the demigod realm? Dongbu Shuiying thought to himself. Previously, when I looked at the Douqi cultivation techniques, the transcendent path was split into 3 stages: Sky Realm, Saint Realm, and Demigod Realm. It seems like this Sea God Palace Elder is a Saint Realm expert. Could it be that a Saint Realm expert can live for 1,500 years? Once he breaks through to the Demigod Realm, he can live even longer? Dongbu Shuiying had many doubts. After all, his understanding of the transcendent world was too little. Following Dongbu Shuiying, he continued to read the book. The next part of the book was more trivial. It was the memories of this transcendent expert Lei Zhan from his life. Infernal world? Demonic faction? Sorcerer God Palace? Entering a small-scale world? Dongbu Shuiying read through Lei Zhan's memories and got a glimpse of the transcendent world. Soon he reached the last page. In my life, I was already extremely lucky to be able to obtain the Stone of Oceanic Boundary. Successor. During my closed-door cultivation, all my other treasures were either sold or exchanged for treasures that could help me break through. The remaining treasures were extremely few. I only had a top-grade Saint-ranked inner armor that could protect my life, and a low-grade Saint-ranked long staff that could barely be used. If I failed to break through, what was the use of having a powerful weapon? Successor, if you were like me and only managed to enter by chance, these treasures that I left behind might be of some use to you. If you had defeated all the guards and gained control of the entire Black Wind Deity Palace, these treasures of mine would not be worth mentioning to you. Only the Stone of Oceanic Boundary would be of interest to you. Oh right, the Stone of Oceanic Boundary is in that pool. Dong Wuxia looked at the octagonal pool. He had read the memoirs of Lei Zhan, an extraordinary ranker, and he knew how precious the Stone of Oceanic Boundary was. It was the most precious core item that could be nurtured by a small world, and it was also the best treasure that Lei Zhan, a Saint-tier ranker, had managed to obtain after living for 1,500 years. It was not used for battle but to assist in cultivation, and it was very helpful in breaking through bottlenecks. This kind of cultivation aid treasure was the lifeblood of transcendence. That pile of stones. Dong Wuxia looked at the pile of pebbles at the side. So it's called Origin Stone. Before this, Lei Zhan went into closed-door cultivation. He sold many of his treasures. Even a top-grade Saint-ranked weapon that he frequently used was sold in exchange for many treasures, among which the most he exchanged for were origin stones. Origin stones were stones that contained the origin of a large world. They contained the most primitive energy of the world. They did not have any elemental attributes and did not burden the body at all. Thus, one's cultivation speed was extremely fast. Normally, Transcendence would not be willing to use origin stones to cultivate. They would only use origin stones when they needed to break through bottlenecks. Lei Zhan went into closed-door cultivation, and even until his death, he still left behind a large pile of origin stones. Latecomer, if you were to enter here by chance like me, I wonder which path you took. I will leave behind my map. Perhaps it would be easier than your path. I have studied it carefully. Climbing down along the walls of the valley, or climbing out, these are the most direct methods, but they are also extremely difficult. You need to avoid the guards. Furthermore, you need to be far away from the abode of gods, because the closer you are, the tighter the guards are. It is impossible to enter the god palace from the front. If you are lucky and patient enough, you might be able to climb out from the bottom of the valley. I once sent a few weak refiner organisms to climb slowly. In total, I sent out 15 weak refiner organisms, but in the end, only one succeeded in climbing to the top of the Black Wind Cliff. When I was on the Black Wind Cliff, I obtained its detailed experience from the refiner organisms. The guards are indeed very tight, and this path of concealment is too difficult. The other path is the way I came in. In the past, I chased after an expert of the Sorcerer God Palace. I chased him into the underground lava river, and finally succeeded in killing him. Beside the underground lava river, I found a crack in the rocks. I sensed that this crack was incomparably deep. I felt that this crack was a little strange, so I turned into a stream of water and drilled into the crack. After traveling for more than 1,000 kilometers, I finally reached the crack in the walls of the Black Wind Deity Palace and entered the Black Wind Deity Palace. The Black Wind Deity Palace was built by an extremely powerful senior in the past, Ancestor Black Wind. Ancestor Black Wind was a demigod, and he was the strongest demigod of that era. Until now, no transcendents have been able to kill their way into the Black Wind Deity Palace. He left behind and obtained the treasures he left behind. From this, it can be seen how powerful he was. This is an underground hall of the Black Wind Deity Palace. My strength is weak, so I am unable to occupy the entire Black Wind Deity Palace. I can only enter an extremely small area of the Black Wind Deity Palace. The map of the exit, as well as the map of the Black Wind Deity Palace that I have explored, are all attached at the back of this book. Asterisk asterisk. Chapter 81. There was a map at the back as well as a lot of detailed explanations. What? There's a door in the underground palace of the Black Wind Deity Palace that's connected to a large-scale world? Dongbu Shuiying was shocked. The map clearly indicated that there was a hidden door in the underground palace that he was cultivating in, which was connected to a large-scale transcendent world. Previously, when he watched the 1,000 years of experience of the Sea Deity Palace Elder Lei Zhan, Dongbu Shuiying had some understanding of the world that he was living in. The mortal world that he was living in was a very stable and perfect material world. The material world was vast and perfect. In the various parts of the material world, there were some spatial folds, spatial cracks, which gave birth to some imperfect transcendent worlds. These transcendent worlds were divided into large-scale worlds and small-scale worlds. Because they were not perfect enough, these worlds condensed some special treasures. Even the origin core of the entire world would condense into a physical object. Many of the precious items that transcendence needed came from these worlds. For example, in a mortal world, not even a single origin stone could be dug out. What was an origin stone? It was a mineral formed from the energy of the heavens and earth that was used to nurture all living things. In a mortal world with perfect laws, all energy was used perfectly. Transcendence would not be able to find any strange items. However, the laws of those large-scale and small-scale worlds were too simple. Some of the mystical energy would directly condense into physical objects. Countless precious transcendent items would cause transcendence to go crazy over them. Therefore, although these worlds were simple, they were still called transcendent worlds. It was because there were many transcendent items. How rare is a large-scale world? Dongbu Shuiying was shocked. This place is actually connected to one? According to Elder Lei Zhan, there were a total of 8 large-scale transcendent worlds that humans had already discovered. Including the one that was connected to the Black Wind Deity Palace, there were a total of 9. Every unexplored large-scale world is a huge treasure. Dongbu Shuiying was slightly shocked. No wonder Ancestor Black Wind built a cave palace here. A large-scale world, it was extremely precious. Once more people knew about it, it would definitely be snatched by the peak demigods. Demigods would go in and plunder, obtaining large amounts of transcendent items and resources. A large-scale world is extremely precious. In the appendix, Elder Lei Zhan advised, "You must not expose it. Even good friends might plot against you." Elder Lei Zhan was in seclusion. He still held on to the hope that he could become a demigod. Furthermore, he had lived for 1,500 years and did not have any attachment to the mortal world. The secret of the Black Wind Deity Palace had never been leaked. Dongbu Shuiying closed the book with a contemplative look in his eyes. Although large worlds are precious, even demigods would go crazy over them, Dongbu Shuiying thought. However, Patriarch Black Wind might have already plundered it. Secondly, it's too far away from me. After all, I'm just a mortal. After that, Dongbu Shuiying took a quick look at the other books. Then, with a wave of his hand, he kept all the books. Only 2 strange talismans were left in his palm. They were the control talismans for the 2 transcendent alchemy creatures. With his Do Chi, he easily refined them. The golden ape and the golden rock immediately said, "Greetings, Master. When I leave the Black Wind Deity Palace, I will bring all of you with me." Dongbu Shuiying said, "Master, we've wanted to go out for a long time." The golden ape was excited. The golden rock was also filled with anticipation. Dongbu Shuiying smiled. "Since the 2 of you address each other as monkey and bird, I will address you as well. Master, you can call us whatever you want." The 2 transcendent alchemy creatures were extremely obedient. This was the advantage of alchemy creatures. Absolute loyalty. "Oh right, is the Stone of Ocean World in this pool?" Dongbu Shuiying looked at the octagonal pool. "Yes," the golden rock said. Back then, Old Master was worried that experts from the Sorcerer God Palace would discover this place. Therefore, he set up an array around the pool. "As long as I crush this talisman, the array will explode. The power of the explosion is comparable to an all-out attack from Old Master. It might be able to kill the enemy. Even if it doesn't, the Stone of Ocean World will be completely destroyed. Moreover, there are some dangerous places in the Black Wind Deity Palace where experts from the Sorcerer God Palace will be killed." Dongbu Shuiying nodded. The Sorcerer God Palace was an organization formed by the transcendents of the demonic beast clan. Humans and demonic beasts had a racial hatred. Even if the treasures that they had worked hard for were to be left for the fated ones, they would not let the outsiders benefit from it. Phew. Dongbu Shuang squatted down and scooped up some of the spiritual liquid from the pool with both of his hands. He drank a mouthful. A cooling sensation spread throughout his body. Every part of his body, be it his muscles, bones, internal organs, dantian, sea of qi, sea of consciousness, or even his soul were all nourished. After the spiritual liquid's energy was rapidly absorbed, Dongbu Shuiying's hunger disappeared completely. I'm not hungry anymore after drinking it. Dongbu Shuiying smiled. Food is also energy. The golden ape laughed. The spiritual liquid from the stone of ocean world is naturally much more nourishing to the body than ordinary food. Old Master drank this spiritual liquid almost every day. The reason why he could become a peak stage saint expert is because of this spiritual liquid. Dongbu Shuiying reached out his hand and fished out a strange jade stone from the pool. This jade stone was an ocean blue in color, with a faint ocean blue glow circulating on its surface. This jade stone had absorbed the essence of the heavens and earth. It was the core of a small world. Looking at it, one could not help but want to take a bite out of it. This desire to eat it was an instinct of life. I feel like eating it just by looking at it. Dongbu Shuiying sighed. Don't eat it directly. It's too wasteful. The golden ape reminded him. If you put it in water, it will slowly dissolve. Ordinary water will be converted into spiritual liquid. Old Master had used it to convert spiritual liquid for close to 1,000 years, but only half of it has been dissolved. You need water. Dongbu Shuiying frowned. I don't have any water. The spiritual liquid in this pool is enough for Master to use for 30 to 50 years, the golden ape said. After we leave this place, Master, you should prepare more water. Dongbu Shuiying nodded. With a wave of his hand, the power of the heavens and earth swept the spiritual liquid into his storage treasure. This storage treasure was an independent space. There was no air or gravity inside. Once an item was moved to a certain place, it would not move again. The spiritual liquid floated in mid-air within the storage treasure. Following Dongbu Shuiying, he walked towards the crack on the wall in the distance. The walls of the entire underground hall were filled with huge cracks. According to the markings on Senior Lejian's map, he came in through this crack. Dongbu Shuiying looked at the crack in front of him. This crack was slightly slanted downwards. Dongbu Shuiying took a step forward and walked along the crack. His body was bathed in flames, and the flames illuminated the pitch-black crack. As he walked, the crack became narrower and narrower. After walking for over 10 kilometers, the crack became so narrow that he could no longer move forward. Dongbu Shuiying frowned. Senior Lejian transformed into a stream of water to follow the crack all the way to the Black Wind Deity Palace. I am only a mortal now. It is impossible for me to pass through it. If there was no path, he could dig one out from underground? Obviously, such an idea would not work. According to Senior Lejian's description, the surrounding area of the Black Wind Deity Palace is a huge formation, including the surrounding mountains and plains. They are all within the range of the formation. Just like the bottom of the valley, it is also within the range of the formation. Within the range of the formation, there are a large number of guards patrolling the area. Those guards are very sensitive. If anyone dares to break the ground and dig a tunnel within the range of the formation, they will be discovered immediately. I can only follow the existing tunnel. I cannot destroy it. Dongbu Shuiying was slightly troubled. Even Transcendence could not find a way out. What hope did he have? This crack is very narrow. Furthermore, it is over 1,000 kilometers long. Dongbu Shuiying shook his head lightly. Only Transcendence can pass through it. Dongbu Shuiying could only helplessly return to the dilapidated hall. He was currently immortal. Even if he had the map of the other smaller areas of the Black Wind Deity Palace, he was still unable to enter. Looking at the empty hall, Yi Zichen, if he wanted to leave, he could only cultivate to the transcendent realm. Monkey birdie. Dongbu Shuiying looked at the golden ape and golden rock and laughed. It seems like I, Dongbu Shuiying, will only have the two of you as my companions for a long period of time. Chapter 82. There were two ways to become a transcendent. The first way was to transcend the body. The other way was to transcend the Do Qi. Many pseudo-transcendents relied on external forces to transcend their bodies. However, their douqi was still that of a legend ranker. Thus, compared to a true transcendent, their strength was very weak. They were only around the top 500 of the Dragon Mountain book. However, there were still many legend rankers who risked their lives to fight for it. Because once they became a pseudo-transcendent, their lifespan would increase exponentially. Facing a powerful legend ranker, they could still escape even if they couldn't defeat them. According to the legends, the second awakening of the primordial bloodline can also allow one to become a transcendent, Dongbua Shuiying thought. Unfortunately, it seems to be very difficult. In Lei Zhan's memoirs, there were occasional mentions of the second awakening of the primordial bloodline. The first awakening would only allow one to be a hero among mortals. The second awakening would allow one to have some of the elegance of a true primordial life form. One must know that the peak of the primordial life forms were comparable to true gods. However, the primordial bloodline in mortals was too thin. Awakening once was already very rare. To want to awaken a second time, Lei Zhan's memoirs did not mention this in detail. However, Dongbua Shuiying could faintly understand that it was extremely difficult. Now that I am trapped in this underground hall of the Black Wind Deity Palace, I have no other choice but to take the most normal path. Transcend the douqi, Dongbua Shuiying thought. Once the quality of the douqi changes after transcending the douqi, the transcendent douqi would permeate the body from the inside out, causing the body to transcend as well. This transcendent process was the safest. Just like those pseudo-transcendents, when they had no hope of breaking through, they would use external forces to forcefully change their bodies, especially their brains. That was truly a narrow escape. Most of them would die. Only a few would succeed and become a pseudo-transcendent with a long lifespan. Who? Dongbua Shuiying sat cross-legged on the smooth floor of the hall. The flames of heaven and earth flowed into his body and into his dantian. Inside his dantian's qi, a tiny round sphere was spinning. This was the solid dan, formed by the solidification of a legend ranker's battle qi. I have to continuously nurture and polish this true dan, and finally produce a qualitative change. The true dan will then produce a strand of transcendent douqi, and after that, all the legend douqi will be completely transformed into transcendent douqi. Dongbua Shuiying was also somewhat vexed. Nurture and polish, produce a qualitative change. There was no shortcut to this path. Many legend rankers like the transformed magical beast Xiang Pangyun, and other monstrous geniuses in the top 100 and top 50 of the Dragon Mountain book, had been stuck at the legend rank for a very long time. They had been constantly nurturing and polishing themselves, until one day they suddenly broke through. I have reached the realm of myriad creations, and coincidentally, I have comprehended the profound mystery of the fire of myriad creations, Dongbua Shuiying thought to himself. My douqi is also a fire-type douqi. Coupled with the spiritual liquid from the stone of ocean boundary, I should be able to step into the transcendent realm much faster. The probability of a normal legend ranker stepping into the transcendent realm was extremely low. As for those who had grasped the realm of myriad existences, they were all ranked in the top 50 of the Dragon Mountain book. Their probability of stepping into the transcendent realm was much higher. Those who had grasped the realm of myriad existences were mostly over 100 years old. As for Dongbua Shuiying, he was only 22 years old. He had plenty of time and was almost certain that he would be able to step into the transcendent realm. But how long would it take? 10 years? 50 years? 100 years? No one could say for sure. There's no use in being anxious. Calm your heart and take it one step at a time. Dongbua Shuiying sat cross-legged, absorbing the heaven and earth flame qi and nourishing the true dan within his body. Time was the most merciless. The snow on the Snowrock Mountain melted and piled up and melted again. The trees and flowers on the mountain peak also withered and flourished. When Dongbua Shuiying fell into the Black Wind Abyss, the Snow Eagle Territory's reputation was very big. Within the Tranquil Sun Province, and even outside of the Tranquil Sun Province, there were many discussions about it. But no matter how monstrous a genius was, a dead genius was no longer a genius. Within the Tranquil Sun Province, it was very rare to hear any discussions about Dongbua Shuiying. Even within his hometown Water Rights Town, there were very few discussions about Dongbua Shuiying. After all, to them Dongbua Shuiying was just a passerby. But occasionally when they were drinking they would sigh. Our water rights town, in any case, had produced an extraordinary person. 3 years after Dongbu Shuiying fell into the Black Wind abyss, a piece of news shook the entire Azure River County, and even the tranquil Sun Province. Azure River County's proud daughter, Mage Jingqiu, had achieved one with the heavens and stepped into the legend rank. Stepping into the legend rank was not rare. But at the age of 28, she had become a legend rank mage. This was too rare. Mages and knights were different. Knights could comprehend the heavens and earth and break through in a single day. But mages had to slowly accumulate their knowledge, constantly dissecting and researching spell models. Only when they had truly dissected the heavens and earth could they achieve one with the heavens. Only 28 years old? That was indeed monstrous. Eternal Wind Academy. As the spring rain fell, the students of the Eternal Wind Academy were discussing about their female teacher, Mage Jingqiu. Although she could not be compared to Dongbu Shuiying, that kind of monstrous genius that only appears once in 100 years, Jingqiu was still extraordinary. Even in the vast territory of the Dragon Mountain Empire, only one would appear once every 8 to 10 years. Jingqiu. A gentle voice sounded. Jingqiu was currently sitting in a pavilion, drinking tea and looking at the spring rain outside. She was indeed very excited after her breakthrough, but very quickly she thought of that monstrous genius. Teacher. Jingqiu turned her head to look at the source of the voice. She immediately stood up and saw a white-bearded old man holding an umbrella walking over. Jingqiu, have you thought it through? Which transcendent organization are you preparing to join? The white-bearded old man asked. Teacher, you, the principal, and many other legend rankers are all at the Water Taoist faction. Jingqiu said. Of course I will also go to the Water Taoist faction. The Water Taoist faction was an extremely large transcendent organization. The Temple of the Earth God also values you. The conditions they gave you are also very good. Are you not going? The white-bearded old man laughed. The Temple of the Earth God has too many restrictions on my freedom. Jingqiu lightly shook her head. I do not like to fight and kill. I only want to be able to freely and peacefully research spells and the mysteries of nature. The white-bearded old man nodded. Good. Then you should prepare yourself. In a few days, I will bring you to the Northern Snowy Plains Water Taoist faction. After going to the Taoist faction, we will go to the Infernal World. I have already told you about this before. You should make arrangements for mortal matters. I understand. Jingqiu nodded. At the bottom of the Black Wind Abyss, in the depths of the Black Wind Deity Palace, in a dilapidated hall, a black-clothed youth was currently bending his body. He held a dagger in his hand as he casually cut off his messy hair. With his control over his strength and the power of the world, he was able to sense every single strand of hair very precisely. Very quickly, he restored his hair to a simple and casual short hairstyle. When he was young, he had already gotten used to having short hair. After all, long hair was more troublesome, and he did not have the time to waste on it. Following which, flames appeared out of thin air, incinerating the hair that he had cut off into ashes. It had been 6 years. Dongbu Shuiying's expression did not seem to have changed much. The only difference was that his gaze had become more reserved. At the same time, his entire demeanor had become even more transcendent. After being trapped in the same place for 6 whole years, with only 2 transcendent refiner organisms to chat with him, how boring and depressing were those days. At the start, Dongbu Shuiying had also felt very uncomfortable. Fortunately, he had been training his spear arts crazily since he was young, and had gradually gotten used to such loneliness. Monkey, come, let's spar again. Dongbu Shuiying waved his hand, and the Feishua godly spear appeared in his hand. Master, you only know how to bully me. The golden ape said bitterly. I feel that there is something wrong with my spear arts. Stop grumbling and receive my spear first. Dongbu Shuiying was still pondering over the problem with his spear arts. Without any hesitation, he began to exchange blows with the golden ape. At the same time, he was also pondering over his spear arts. At the start, he did not feel that there was anything wrong with his spear arts. But the more he trained in the hall, the more he felt that there was something wrong with his spear arts. Chapter 83. Boom boom boom, Dongbo Shuiying's Feishua godly spear was like an enraged volcano. Its might was extremely ferocious, causing the golden ape to defend time and time again. Most of the time, it could only rely on its body to defend. The first spurt of energy, the second decline, and the third exhaustion. Dongbo Shuiying shook his head. The fire of myriad creations shouldn't be like this. 6 years ago, when he had just comprehended the realm of myriad creations and killed Xiang Pangyun, Dongbo Shuiying's spear arts were extremely ferocious and violent, bringing with it the tyranny of flames. At that time he was extremely delighted to execute it. But after 6 years of lonely cultivation, Dongbo Shuiying gradually realized the problem with his spear arts. When he attacked, the first strike would be extremely powerful, but after that, he would just repeat the same moves. As long as the opponent got used to it, his moves would be useless. A true spear art shouldn't be like this. Dongbo Shuiying suddenly retreated. The golden ape looked at its master, who had already retreated 100 meters away, in confusion. Dongbo Shuiying was actually practicing his spear arts by himself. A mortal's spear art should be both hard and soft. The combination of yin and yang. Why is it that now that I've reached the realm of myriad creations, I'm still pursuing hard and fierce? Dongbo Shuiying started to execute the world's most popular and most basic soul spear art. Every move was simple and natural, and even had a strange soft intent. Only by squatting can I jump higher. Retracting my fist is for the next punch. If I want my spear arts to be even more powerful and ferocious, I have to be even more reserved. Only by combining hard and soft can I become even more ferocious. Dongbo Shuiying practiced his spear arts to his heart's content. All these years, he had been pursuing hard and fierce in the profound mystery of fire. At this moment he was pursuing that kind of soft strength. Just like that he continued to practice. All the doubts that he had accumulated in his heart towards his spear arts for the past 6 years were now fully displayed. The more he practiced his spear arts like this, the happier he felt. Just like that, he practiced for a full 5 days. Suddenly, the Dongbo Shuiying Feishua godly spear spun, as if it could envelop the entire world and block everything. But suddenly, a stream of water appeared around the spinning spear. The stream of water spun along with the spear, forming a whirlpool of water that let out a gurgling sound. This was a stream of water that was naturally formed between heaven and earth. The water of the realm of myriad existences. Yes, that's the feeling. How wonderful! Extreme softness, the unending flow of water. What my spear art lacks is this kind of unending flow. What it lacks is extreme yin and extreme softness. Dongbo Shuiying's eyes were filled with joy. When he saw the whirlpool of water formed by the spinning spear, Dongbo Shuiying understood that he had comprehended a trace of the profoundness of water. Monkey, little bird, attack together. In his excitement, Dongbo Shuiying's figure flashed as he dashed over. The golden ape and the golden rock looked at each other, and immediately let out a strange cry as they attacked together. Boom! The golden ape slapped out with its huge palm. The spear in Dongbo Shuiying's hand rotated and thrust it out. It had already completely deviated from some of the methods of the dark ice spear technique. When the spear thrust it out, it brought along a rotating stream of water. When the golden ape's big palm touched the tip of Dongbo Shuiying's spear, it felt as if it had slapped an unceasingly rotating top. The tip of the spear was so slippery that it actually slid past the ape's palm and directly stabbed towards the golden ape's chest. Poochie! The spear stabbed into the golden ape's chest. The strange rotating penetrative force caused the golden ape to feel a little uncomfortable. Fortunately, it was a transcendent gold refiner creature, and its material was extremely tough. Stab of the will spear art. Now that Dongbo Shuiying had walked on his own path, he naturally broke away from the shackles of the mystic ice spear art. After all, his path of spear art was different from Senior Gu Yuanhan's. At most he had taken advantage of some of Senior Gu Yuanhan's outstanding points, such as the use of the rotating force. However, when Dongbo Shuiying combined this rotating force with the profound mysteries of the water of myriad creations, its power increased exponentially. What technique is that? The golden rock was also puzzled as it flapped its wings over. Dongbo Shuiying spun his spear. It was as if a huge whirlpool had appeared between the heavens and earth. When the golden rock swatted over, it felt as if the force was diverted to the side. Ha! Dongbo Shuang was extremely delighted. Little bird monkey, the two of you better be careful now. Dongbo Shuang's spear danced in the air, flashing and interweaving between the two of them. If the previous Dongbo Shuang was extremely ferocious, then the current Dongbo Shuang was like a slippery loach. When he used his spear art to defend, it made it hard for the enemy to unleash their full strength. When he attacked, although his strength was not very strong, it was extremely unpredictable, making it hard for the enemy to grasp the changes in his strength. Furthermore, the penetrative force of the rotation was also extremely sinister. Pung! Occasionally, Dongbo Shuang's spear would suddenly burst forth with a ferocious might. Flames would naturally appear on the spear and fiercely lash out at the enemy. One was gentle while the other was ferocious, causing the enemy to feel like vomiting blood. This is more like it. This is what I want. While Dongbo Shuang was fighting, his will spear art was gradually changing. Every move was continuous, causing the ferocious attacks of the fire of myriad creations to become even more threatening. Even the profound mysteries of fire was undergoing a transformation. Originally, the flames were only ferocious and had the power to burn and destroy everything. But now there was an additional trace of restraint, causing the ferocious attacks to be able to flow endlessly. There are similarities between fire and water, Yi Zichen said. Dongbo Shuang's profound mysteries of the fire of myriad creations was improving. Similarly, the water of myriad creations had also absorbed some of the essence of the profound mysteries of fire. It was no longer purely gentle, but instead, there was a faint hint of ferociousness within it. Gentle as the body, ferociousness as the thread, it could flow endlessly. This was the current Dongbo Shuang's fire of myriad creations. Fierce as the body, gentle as the thread, it could flow endlessly. This was the current fire of myriad creations. Awesome! Awesome! Dongbo Shuang felt exceptionally exhilarated as he executed his spear art. Previously, he would always feel as though he was bursting with energy, then weakening and then being exhausted. After all, it was very tiring to be constantly using the fire of myriad creations. But now he was not tired at all. His spear art was endless. Even though he had comprehended the profound mysteries of the fire of myriad creations, he still had to slowly grind and nurture his battle chi. In the main hall, Dongbo Shuang was sitting cross-legged as he absorbed the power of the flames in the heavens and the earth to gradually polish the round solid core in his body. Although he had been polishing and nurturing it for 6 years, he had yet to make a breakthrough. But today, when Dongbo Shuang guided the fire battle chi in his body, he naturally used the profound mysteries of the fire of myriad creations that he had already made a breakthrough in. When his battle chi was being nurtured and polished, it faintly carried a hint of gentleness. It could be fiercely polished or gently caressed. 1 hour, 2 hours, that round solid core gradually changed. For the past 6 years, he had been drinking the spiritual liquid dissolved by the stone of the ocean boundary. The spiritual liquid had also nourished his body, and the battle chi solid core in his Dantian sea of chi. Now, the battle chi nourishment had brought about a change in the profound mysteries of the fire of myriad creations. It was obviously helpful in nurturing and polishing his solid core. Buzz! The surface of the round solid core gradually lit up, as though it had been reborn. Traces of light appeared on the surface of the solid core. A trace of brilliance gradually appeared on the surface of the solid core. This brilliance gradually gathered and gradually formed a fog. This fog carried a faint red flame. However, this fog contained an incredible transcendent power. Although it seemed thin, any trace of it could easily cut through boulders and swords. Even weaker alchemy weapons would not be able to withstand its sharpness. Transcendent battle chi? Dongbo Shuang was instantly overjoyed. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.